All right, here we go. Welcome to Stonetop, a Darkening Sky, Session 3 for the Gauntlet. I'm Jeremy, your GM, joined with Ben, Lou, and Patrick. If y'all want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and who you're playing.
Hello, I'm Ben Bisogno. I'm playing, I go by he, him pronouns. I am playing Winnie, who is the village legacy judge, and she is very serious about her job. And she's in stark contrast against everyone else who's kind of wild and absurdist. And I think we'll go through each of us before we give a recap of the events of the last week. Lou?
Hello, I'm Lou. I also use he, him pronouns. I am playing Torwen, who was brought to Stonetop by the resident witch, who not everybody knows is a witch, but just as a baby that was covered in tattoos, and so Torwen has this kind of mysterious kind of background that may or may not be connected with the stone in the center of the town and the broken tower. I'm playing the muscle playbook, so I'm potentially very good at murdering people. That's about it. Over to you, Patrick.
I'm Patrick. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Anwen, who also uses he, him pronouns. He is the would-be hero, just an earnest young man with a mysterious father who's long dead, who was originally based on Lafayette from Tales of Berseria, but I've watched 57 episodes of Steven Universe in the past 4 days, so that will likely inform my role-playing choice.
For shame.
No shame. It's amazing.
Well, I'm thinking of how absurd your choices are going to be. How unfortunate.
I'm
a little terrified.
I'm sorry. I'm just really amused that you, Ben, are talking, like giving someone preemptive guff about absurd choices.
Yeah, I have to invest in your characters. Just lean in, you know what I mean?
All right. Quick recap of what happened during our last session. We did a little bit of world building and then zoomed in the morning, found Colwyn hanging out with his witchy lover, Bethan. Bethan revealed that she was pregnant, and a bunch of questions came up about whether or not it was Colwyn's, whether it was would be one of the witchy children, or if it would have been one of the monstrous boy children that the witches are known to give birth to. And Colwyn is being no small amount of ass about it. The made-up cleric that Colwyn used to tell stories about, he's here in town. Colwyn is avoiding him, and he's been bringing news of a large group of Lygosi refugees heading to town. They'll probably be arriving in a few weeks. One of the newer refugee families from the south, a Lygosi family, were having trouble fitting in with the more established southern families like Winnie's, who are from Neris. And a cousin of Winnie's accused one of the Lygosi family girls, Parvana, whom Anwen has a crush on, I believe, accused her of stealing and... Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up some of the other stuff here. That was just one of the Lygosi families of stealing and eating his goat. The Lygosi denied it, but before Winnie could pass judgment on them, or after Winnie passed judgment on them, and before she could pass judgment on Torwen for climbing the stone in the center of town last night and getting struck by lightning, there were screams from the field. Everyone went out there to find that an uncle of Winnie's had been brutally killed and sort of torn apart. Another local Fleur was disemboweled but still alive, and a few other locals were injured, but they had managed to chase the monster off. Colwyn has stabilized Fleur and took her back to Beth Ann's for treatment. Winnie and Torwen sang songs with the crowd to keep the folks from panicking. Then Winnie declared that this was somehow Torwen's fault, and he needed to be judged. Arrest him. Torwen originally thought that this was some sort of a ploy and kind of played along by running for it, and started to realize that maybe Winnie was actually serious about this. Meanwhile, Colwyn and Beth Ann saved Fleur's life, at least for now. Winnie brings her uncle's mangled body back to town, starts preparing him for funerary rites, and a posse starts to form up to go after Torwen. Torwen, meanwhile, is running all over, looking all about the flats, looking for the trail of the thing that attacked the farmers, finds the trail, and starts following it off towards the ruined tower. Beth Ann talks to Colwyn about how, this monster could have been one of the babies that Colwyn helped deliver during the last blood moon. That increases the tension about Beth Ann's coming child, because it coincides with another coming blood moon, or its due date would coincide with another coming blood moon. Let's see. Colwyn heads out, stops the posse from going after Torwen, gets Winnie to come with them. There's some sitcom-style dialogue, and Winnie and Colwyn head out. I'm not saying bad sitcom, I'm just saying sitcom. I was laughing my ass off. Torwen closed in on the monster, found a deer carcass that had been torn apart by the thing, and started following it again after taking a hunk of meat, but then had one of his fits, and we don't know how long he was out for. Meanwhile, Colwyn and Winnie get close. They find the deer carcass. Colwyn investigates, finds something, a discarded key, like the one the witches gave him 3 years ago. And this, for some reason, prompts him to leave Winnie and rush off on his own to the ruined tower. Meanwhile, Torwen comes to, being dragged through the grass by the monster, like a 7-foot-tall, starving toddler with 2 long limbs and red crystal teeth and nails. There's a struggle, and Torwen gets knocked out. Colwyn rushes off, tells Winnie to go help Torwen, and that is where we ended the scenes.
Previously on Stonetop.
Bum, bum, bum. Anything that you wish to correct or add, Lou or Ben?
I think that was very succinct. I struggle to think of any exceptions. So if something comes up, it'll come out in play.
You missed saying how excellent the song was that me and Ben sang and wrote.
You're right. I totally left out the details of the song that you guys like. Did you just like whip that up like on the document while you were in downtime?
Yes.
Love it. Okay. Patrick, Anwen has a love letter. Would you mind? Or actually, sorry, before we jump in, did you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Then why don't we do your love letter, and then we'll get going.
Okay, love letter. Dear Anwen, you got up early and were out in the Great Wood during the commotion this morning. Rest assured, as soon as you found out that Colwyn dragged Winnie off in pursuit of some monster, you were headed out there after them. But before we get to that, you know better than anyone that the Crinwyn have been getting bolder these past few years. Maybe it's the drought this past winter and spring, but they've been getting even worse. What sign of them did you encounter this morning when you went to check your traps that made your blood run cold and got you hoofing it back to town? And the answer is, when I was checking my traps today, I found a small, crude imitation of one of my snares that I am absolutely certain was built by Crinwyn. So I'm running back to town to find an older, experienced trapper to come out with me and look at it, and assure me that it couldn't possibly be that, and in fact it is some other thing, because if it's that, we're all very screwed. So when I got back to town, I found it in a state of disarray. Apparently some sort of monster attacked, like a skeleton wrapped in too tight skin, its arms too long for its torso, and glowing red crystals for teeth, brutally killing Baraz, Winnie's uncle, and mauling Fleur, a local farmer. A few other farmers fended it off, but got injured in the process. It ran off into the flats. Winnie accused Torwen of bringing this on them, and Torwen pushed her down and ran into the flats himself. An hour or two later, Colwyn dragged Winnie off in pursuit. Who filled you in on all this information, and what specifically prompted you to go after them? My older sister, is a good-natured gossip. So she filled me in, especially because it involved Winnie, my BFF. So they filled that in right away. And I probably would have taken off after Winnie regardless, because, like, my friend's doing a thing. I'm going to go give her a hand. But it's not that weird a concept to me that Torwen might have snapped or be on a drunken bender or both. So but I also don't trust Colwyn after what I've seen of him over the past couple of years. So I'm definitely going to go make sure that nobody needs me. The love letter continues. Oh, pick equipment. Love your GM. Okay.
So a couple of questions for you. Why do you find the crude imitation snare and trap that you think might have been built by the Krynwen? Why do you find that so disturbing?
If they copy our technology, we're done for.
Okay.
The only thing we have over them is size and technological superiority. One person can take a dozen of them if they're a skilled combatant, because they're just tiny little things with pointy sticks. If they're more than that, we're in a lot of trouble.
I guess it could also mean they've moved your snares and traps around, and now there's traps where you didn't know there were traps.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. Like, if their first technological development is traps, then we're in trouble right away, because we're going to need to work around those while we just do our day-to-day stuff.
Cool, great. And then the other question I had for you is, when you ran off kind of in pursuit of Winnie and everyone, there's plenty of opportunity to slip out without really anyone knowing or noticing. I'm wondering, did you go by did you let anyone know that you were going after them, or did you just sort of like duck out in the chaos and kind of intentionally try not to be noticed?
No, I would have told my sister, like, oh no, it sounds like Winnie's going to need my help. So I'm going to go make sure she's okay. And then maybe she tried to convince me not to. And I was all like, I'm 17. I do what I want.
Love it. Okay, cool. So we've got Anwen heading down, probably out the west road, like into the flats, in pursuit of his friend and less less trustworthy members of the town. We've got Torwen, who's just had his head grabbed by this monster and smacked into a rock. And then we've got Winnie, who's just been left in the middle of a dry early spring a tall grass prairie surrounded by nothing but tall, dead grasses.
I was thinking last time I probably need some sort of, the fiction probably demands I take some sort of debility, right?
For now, don't worry about it. I think you just got knocked out temporarily, and when you come to,
I guess I got a hard head.
Yeah. And so we've got Winnie is basically sitting out in the middle of the flats. Colwyn has just given some sort of weird explanation of "I have to run," and ran off, leaving her there, but said, "You need to help Torwen." Also, having revealed all of the stuff about Colwyn having lied about the last blood moon, and revealing that he had in fact delivered a bunch of witches, that there were monsters that some of them had given, and that oh my gosh, this might be a monster born of a witch. So what's going through Winnie's mind right now? Oh, I'm sorry. Also, Winnie heard off in the distance, sort of this high-pitched, horrifying laughter, sort of right after Colwyn ran off.
Do it.
Okay, Winnie is she's a little shocked. Like, she feels like she's surrounded by a storm of information and events coming one right after another. And it reminds me of the night that Torwen climbed the mount. Because after he was struck by lightning, there was a sense of ozone and uncertainty in the air. and this is the same feeling. Like she is like a center, and everything's swirling around her. And she knows the direction that Torwen went, and it's in the direction of the voice. And so, and because she doesn't want to follow Colwyn right now, she's very, she's a little angry at him actually. Even and like in a kind of petty way, because the real feelings that she feels for him is like a true betrayal, which is a little too deep for her to grapple with. And the feeling of petty just comes from him like leaving her out here to like face these forces alone after he asked her to come with him. So that like it's just that minute detail that she's like actually has feelings about. She's not grappling with the revelations he's given her so far. I think she's looking toward the sound, and she's in the flats right now. Is the sound in the flats, or is it in a wooded area?
So the flats isn't much in the way of woods out here, right? Like it's just this vast tall grass prairie. You get the occasional copse of trees popping or sticking out, but nothing nearby. So yeah, the voice is basically coming from further into the flats from where Stonetop is. What do you do?
Can I roll spout lore?
I mean, you certainly can, but can you tell me what you are thinking about?
I'm thinking about how I could use the area to sneak up on the voice and make sure, and like to corner it. Yeah, like my knowledge of my native, like of the place.
I'm not even going to have you roll spout lore for this, right? Because there's plenty of obstruction. You've got these tall grasses that are, like a fairly dense thicket of them. So there's plenty to obscure your vision as long as you kind of move slowly and are very careful about where you step. I think the biggest thing is not so much being seen. I mean, that is definitely a concern, but it's more about like stepping on those dry, like stalks of grass and making more of like a snap, rustle sort of sound. That's really the key thing that you're going to have to be kind of watching out for.
Okay, I think it's doomed that she's going to do that. She's resigned herself to making
sound. You have that massive pack on as well.
Yes, it's
previously established.
It's the load. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely have a better chance of, like, I would say, actually, there's no way that you will be able to sneak up on this thing if you continue carrying your full load. But if you drop basically everything but the hammer, and just like go very, very quiet, you might have a shot.
Or you could do the good old fashioned peg something over and try get it to head towards the noise, and then jump on it. But I think that's probably more of a Torwen thing to do.
I think I might do discern realities before I do that. So,
yeah, that sounds great. So just sort of like looking around, taking everything in, trying to figure out the right thing to do.
The best thing to do, given my tight situation. Sure. And so I have a +0 to intelligence, and I have a -1 to intelligence and +1 to wisdom, whatever that means.
Wisdom is discern realities.
Okay. So it's roll d2.
Weird. Did we lose our dice on roll for your party?
2 and 3. So I have a 6.
All right. So first of all, you did take notes on the whatchamacallit, on the Chronicler of Stonetop. So if you want, you do have that +1 that you can apply to yourself or someone else's roll.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so you'll take the miss.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the miss.
Okay. So as far as that goes, I think you are sort of like looking around, thinking about what to do, thinking about, how can you possibly sneak up on this thing. And at about the time that you're doing that, you realize that there are these like chirping, kind of like noises coming from the grass all about you. And at about that time, like as sort of as you're kind of realizing that that's not just the wind or bird chirping, like it's coming from too low, you sort of like look over in the grass and see a little like reptilian snout just sort of like piercing through the grass. There's this.
Okay. I'm going to parlay.
No, you're not.
Oh, I'm not. Okay.
Well, no, I mean,
Okay.
tell me what you do, but and maybe it'll be a parlay.
Okay. So, what size is this thing? Is this like a mountain lion, or is this like a puppy?
Imagine I don't know, like maybe about the size of like a yellow lab.
Okay. Yeah.
So medium to bigger dog size.
This is pretty terrifying. Okay. I'm going to defy danger, I guess.
So tell me what you do. Don't worry about the moves so much, but just sort of tell me what you're up to.
So I stand still and I bring my hammer out and just ready myself and slowly into position. And I whisper, "It doesn't have to be this way, little one. Okay, I don't want to have to kill you, but if you come toward me, my judgment will come toward you." So,
just to make sure, you don't have like some special ability that lets you talk to animals, do you?
No.
Okay.
Do you sound brave when you say that, or does it sound more like, is there like more of a waver in your voice? Like, are you afraid, or have you put the fear aside to?
No, I think she is afraid. When she thought that Colwyn wanted her to defend him, she took it as like somewhat surprised, because although she knows that she's powerful, at the same time she doubts herself in different ways, and partly why she is so kind of stringent and forceful in her decisions is because part of her is just doubting her own abilities, and so she has to make up for that by pretending to be the judge or pretending to be the warrior that she wants to be. And so that's what she's doing right now.
That's great. So the way you described that, sort of like hoisting the hammer and getting ready to receive an attack, that sounds to me like the trigger for the defend move. When you take up a defensive stance or jump in to protect others, but it's the first one, roll plus con. And on a 10 plus, you'll hold 3 readiness, and on a 7 to 9, you'll hold 1 readiness. Let me know what you got.
My con is +1, so let's roll d2. Okay, I have 5 and 6 plus 1. So that's 12. Wait, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So on a 12, that means that you hold 3 readiness, and you can spend those points of readiness, 1 for 1, to suffer an attack's damage effects instead of your ward, which doesn't really apply here since you're defending yourself. Have an attack's effect or damage. Draw all attention from your ward to yourself. Again, you're really just kind of defending yourself. Or strike back at an attacker, dealing your damage with disadvantage. So hang on to those 3, and then we will see what happens here. Okay. Meanwhile, Anwen, you have been heading out after after Winnie. Are you like following the road and kind of keep trying to keep an eye and ear out for them, or are you trying to like follow the path that they took through the grass?
Well, they had a posse, right? Or was it just the two of them?
It was really just the two of them.
All right. I'm probably trying to track them because at this point they shouldn't be a huge challenge for me.
Okay. And I'm sorry, was there anything special like off of the moderate or fancy lists, gear lists that you wanted to take?
No. But I did change my since I already have the warm bedroll as a class feature, I switched to a hatchet as my extra
Oh, okay.
item.
Great. Cool. So you've got like the book, the hatchet, and like a bedroll with you?
Yep, plus the bow and arrow.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's very woodsy sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right, so so you're trying to track them. It's not too hard. It's not like they were trying to hide their trail. They were, and they were moving with speed. And Winnie in particular, like, holy cow! She like the imprint of her boot prints is like this thick. She must be carrying an enormous amount of stuff. Plus, you're a woods person, right? So tracking two people running through like dry grasslands is not going to be a difficult thing. You do pass at one point a like mangled up deer carcass, and it's had like a big chunk taken out of it. And not too far from there, you found a spot where the grass had just been torn up, and you recognize Torwen's like finger scratchings that he does when he has his fits are kind of like scratched all around in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then sort of like as you are taking this in, you hear. Well, so you pretty much spend your time in the Great Wood, right? Not so much in the flats.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I think I'm going to put a hold on this for the moment, and like you're kind of out there getting to that direction. Was there anything that you wanted to do, just sort of like after seeing that deer carcass, before we like move you into contact with the others?
Once I see the deer carcass and then the scene of another of Torwen's freakouts, I'm going to like at this. I was moving quickly before, but now I'm running.
Cool. Okay. All right, and Torwen, you're still kind of out cold, so hang tight. Winnie, you are like kind of looking at that thing, saying, "Don't attack. I don't want to have to kill you." A little quaver in your voice. And you're sort of like looking at that one, right, the one that you spotted. When there's a sudden, and something just like tackles you from your back left, right?
Yeah.
And there's just a flurry of things going all over the place. What do you do?
I think she curls up. Yeah, I think she doesn't do anything. I think she freezes.
Okay. You definitely have that defense to spend. So I'm going to inflict some damage on you and have you get tackled and drop down to the ground. If you want to spend the readiness, you definitely can. In fact, it's probably a good idea.
Okay.
But let me look up the damage that these things do quick.
Can I make a luck roll to see if she actually like responds to that?
You're welcome to just like roll a die as an oracle for yourself, but there's no move that you have to invoke for this.
I'm gonna oracle myself.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like she's actually feeling very vulnerable.
I mean, rolling up in a ball could be like a defensive move too, in terms of like halving the damage from that, like as the mechanics. Do you know what I mean? Of your roll.
I think she does roll up, and if that counts as a defense, like she would have the damage. but I would not take advantage of the striking back at an opponent.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so sawtooth teeth. These things only do a d6 damage. Do you guys care if you do you actively want to roll for your damage, or do you want me to are you okay with me rolling it?
I kind of
roll.
like the rolling damage for monsters.
you
It's
like the
fun.
G?
Makes
Okay.
it more antagonistic.
Okay, so I'm rolling a d6, and I rolled a 6. So if you spend that readiness, you can cut that down to 3. And if you want, you can kind of keep your feet. Otherwise, the thing's just like grabbing on, and then just like bearing you down to the ground. And another one comes like rushing out and trying to like chomp on, and you feel him like tugging at you as this is happening.
I think that I'm going to spend the readiness to cut it in half, but I'm not going to hold my feet. When he falls to the ground and her stuff like goes everywhere, and she sees like her scroll of parchment like roll into this sickly mud. And like as she's being attacked, she's like seeing it. Like, is it dry or is it muddy?
It's super dry, right? Because
Okay, never mind.
But it could easily have been like got caught on one of those things. Because there's now 2 of them, right? So they could have just like shredded it up.
Yeah, I think one of them shreds it up, and that's what she's like staring at. And she just whispers a prayer and curls up.
Okay. Anwen, I think you're like running, right? And you hear this like do you think Winnie's screaming, Ben?
Or praying really loud.
Crying or whimpering or making any noise? Or do you think that you're like staying being stoic or what?
Yeah, Winnie, I don't think Winnie would make a sound. I think there's like the soft sound of like falling, and like she's just like crystallizing up. So it's not really good for roleplay in that, but I feel like that's where she's at,
Cool. All right. So Anwen, you don't necessarily hear any. So yeah, Winnie's not making any noise, but as you're rushing off, you realize that there's some sort of a scuffle going on ahead of you, maybe like up and to your left, not very far away from where you are.
Okay, I'm headed directly towards it.
Okay, just beeline straight towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you like pausing to take in the situation or anything, or are you just like rushing in full fledged?
I kind of have this image of Anwen rushing in and just shoulder slamming the thing to try to get it off of Winnie.
Okay,
I'm less about damaging it and more about preventing it from damaging her any further.
Sure. So I think what happens is you sort of like because you get this like you sort of see this almost. Did you ever watch Heathcliff? Right, like that old cartoon. A cartoon fight where it's just like a cloud, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all of this stuff going on, right? You could kind of get this sense of something happening. But remember, you're rushing through tall grass prairie, like dry tall grass prairie. So it's not like you've got a clean line of sight on this. You're just hearing these like snap, 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 snap as you're rushing through this with these. But you're pretty sure that that's at least a person under there, and likely one of the 3 people you came after.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if I can determine that it's on top of a person, that's what I'll do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. How big are these things? Are we talking like ROUS or what?
Maybe a little bit smaller than ROUS, right? Like medium to large sized dog.
Okay.
Like lab sized.
Yeah, maybe no. The shoulder works.
Okay, so you're just gonna like basically plow as many of them off of you as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That definitely sounds like defying danger with strength to me.
Well, that's not good.
You don't have any good stats, right?
Not really, no. All right, so I will roll these 2 pink dice on the end.
What were you just saying? What was that word you were saying?
Roll for the usual size.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, so I got a 5.
Okay.
But wait, hang on. I have a power specifically for this. Where are my moves at? Here we go. When you defy danger and roll a 6-, ask the GM a question from Discern Realities after they describe what happens. So, after you.
Okay. So first of all, mark XP. And Winnie, I don't know if I mentioned this, but when you rolled a miss on your Discern Realities that got you into this mess, mark XP for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I think what happens, Anwen, is you are rushing in, and you like as you're rushing towards this, kind of like lowering your shoulder. You're like, "All right, here it comes," and then something grabs you by the ankle, and you just go whoomp down and start feeling something just gnawing at your ankle, like through your boot at your ankle, and you are going to be taking a d6 of damage yourself. As you take 5 damage as something in the grass is just and that does not feel good. All right, so now you get to ask me a question from the Discern Realities list.
Who's in control of this situation?
I think we know that one. I guess what's about to happen?
Let's see. What is about to happen? So kind of looking like you're able to sort of like keep your bearings enough that you're looking up at Winnie. You actually see that one of them has grabbed on to Winnie's leg, and another one has grabbed on to like her arm and shoulder, and they've both like planted themselves. And like there's this calm part of your brain that starts hearing or thinking, oh, right, I've heard of this. These are hunting drakes. What they're about to do, people call it wishboning. All right. Winnie, you sort of feel that starting to happen, right? Like
yeah, and she like sees the figure that looks like her friend, like above her.
Well, he's not above you anymore. He's like basically like face down,
okay,
in the grass, maybe a few feet from you.
It could be poetic if your faces are like, you're like facing each other on the ground.
It's definitely, and like the same thought is going through my mind at the moment that it's going through Anwen's, that I'm going to get fishboned, but like wishboned, but at the same time, like there's like kind of imagery of where Anwen and I are just kind of looking like we're in parallel with each other, like together we are a wishbone. And in that moment that I feel like I don't want myself to be torn apart, I also don't want to be torn apart from Anwen in this moment. And like it's dawned on me that he's like come all the way to here to save me. Because I know he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't care about Torwen. At least that's Winnie's perspective.
It seems reasonable. With that said, what do you do?
Okay. What do I do? I think
And keep in mind, you still have 2 readiness that you can use to have or to strike back at the foes.
Yeah, but it has to be through defend, right? Yeah.
You could also justify defending Anwen, I guess. Like, couldn't you? Even though you didn't roll it initially in that context, like.
Were they going to wishbone Anwen or wishbone me?
They're about to wishbone you. Anwen only has 1 on him that you can see.
Okay, I think that. Ooh, this is so tough. First things first, to get these little rascals off me, and I am going to do a defend move where I strike back at my attacker and draw all attention to myself.
Okay, so you're gonna you're spending the 2 readiness that you have left to draw your attention to yourself and kick back at him.
Yes.
Cool. How to describe how you do it as far as the attacking back, and if you want, you can roll your damage first to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna roll my damage first because that's actually a smart move.
All right, and keep in mind, I'm going to say that you're able to hurt both of them. That since they're both on you, but you are rolling with disadvantage, so you're going to roll your damage die twice and take the lower result.
So I think that was a 3 and a 3 or 3 and a 5. Give me a second. Let me roll 2 batches.
Okay, so your damage is your judge, right? I think that's just a d6.
So 2 and a 3 and 2 and a 3. 2 and a 2. 2 and a 3, 2 and a 2.
It's just 1d6. Your damage die is 1d6.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Okay, I'm going to re-roll this because I don't know what I'm doing. So I have a 2 and a 3. Yeah. So, it would be a 2.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so 2 damage, which isn't enough to take either of them down, but it is enough to make them feel it.
Mm-hmm. And so, I do that by, I think she's a kind of top-heavy fighter, and so when she feels that they're going to do this to her, she twists up and throws her hammer at one of them, and so she doesn't have a weapon in one hand in either hand right now, which it left her open to attack by the little critters. Leaves her open to attack, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. So I'm picturing you kind of flailing about with that hammer, and then at the end, tossing it at one as you sort of scramble up to your feet.
Yeah. I put my hands down on the ground because it's still a heavy load, so I can't just jump up.
Yeah, sure. It's a lot less heavy now though, because half your shit is strewn all over the place.
It's true. But she does use both her hands to get up.
Okay, cool. So you've got that, you kind of knock a couple of them around or knock them off of you, stand up, and you also said that you draw all attention to yourself, right? So when you do that, the one that had Anwen, that had you by the ankle, right? It snaps up and just sort of darts off into the grass.
Okay.
And I'm going to switch back to Anwen, so you can tell kind of a follow up on the resourceful, what is about to happen. You can tell, you just kind of know from the way that it darted off there that it's basically trying to get around and behind behind Winnie. So what do you do? Sorry, to be clear, I'm talking. The question is to Anwen. What do you do?
Yeah, sorry, I said several times, but I was muted.
Okay.
What I would like to do is this the kind of combat, is this the kind of combat archery where I can roll away and take a shot at one of them, or is that is it a little too clunky for that sort of thing?
It's a little too clunky for that.
Okay.
You could maybe back up and draw. Do you think you were running with your bow in hand, or?
Probably not. That's a good way to fall and break it.
Hatchet time.
So it's probably do you think it was strung over your back, or do you carrying it unstrung, or what do you think you're doing?
Probably over my back.
Okay.
So it'll have to be hatchet time. So I guess I'm going to stand up and attack the closest one that is attached to Winnie.
She actually knocked both of them off of her, so it's sort of her standing here, 2 of them here, and you where my thumb is.
Okay.
And then the one that was on you sort of darted around, and you're pretty sure it's going to come around and try and get at her from behind.
And she's completely drawn their attention, right? So there's a potential for you to hatchet it in the back or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wish I had that move, but everybody underestimates me.
Well, no, I mean, I actually don't think that you even need to, like, if you want to just hatchet one of these ones, right? Like, Winnie really is drawing all of their full attention at this point.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're flanking them. So if you want to just chunk, go ahead and roll your damage.
Oh, great. So I'm assuming that's just a d6.
It is, though, I believe you get advantage on it.
Okay.
Gain advantage on your next roll to act on the answer.
Oh, right. 4 damage.
4 damage. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, tell us how you kill this thing.
Quickly and like arguably humanely, just like straight to the back of the skull. I don't want it to like suffer at all.
Sure. Okay. So just like a chunk and it drops.
It's like blunt end of the hatchet or something. It's like
oh no, I want it dead. I don't want it to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, like Anwen has definitely, like, you're a trapper, right? You've definitely had to put many animals out of their misery.
That's a good point. That's probably like a skill that you have of ending things quickly.
Okay, so chunk, one of them goes down, and at about that moment, Winnie, you sort of hear kind of like from a little bit of rustling behind you, and the one in front of you that's still up. It like you feel like you just have this sense that they're both charging at you at the same time. What do you do?
I think Winnie at this point feels that she has someone at her back, and so she is someone to protect, and like she's responsible. That they can only get this through this together. So she
If only you still had a hammer.
If only I still had a hammer. I think
it's not far away. You could like make a lunge for it and try and
she's gonna make a lunge for it, you know.
All right, so you're going for the hammer and kind of like get it up, put it between you and your friends.
Yeah. So I think it's a defy danger.
Yeah, I think so. With Dex, I'm thinking because you're trying to get to it before these two quick little critters get on you.
Yeah. And so that is a 2D.
Yep, that'll be 2d6 plus Dex.
Oh, so it's a 7.
7. Okay. So hard bargain, ugly choice, or a worse outcome. We're going to say that you can get to the hammer and get a swing at one of them, but in so doing, another one is going to basically like get a chomp down onto your ankle.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
So you will take a. Okay, it was apparently not just any chomp, right? It was a 5 damage chomp.
Yeah.
And so you like feel like you actually feel the teeth and the clamp coming through like probably your left ankle. But you've got the hammer in hand, and the other one is still closing. You got time. You could probably just get like a good swing in and hit both of them if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So is this a hack and slash, or is this a defend? Yeah.
No, this is definitely a hack and slash. So roll 2d6 plus strength.
2d6 plus strength. It is. So that is a 7.
Okay. Cool. So you're gonna deal damage. You're gonna deal your damage to both of them. So I'm gonna ask you to roll once per foe.
Okay.
That's something different than standard Dungeon World. I always like have you roll for each foe. But they're gonna roll. They're gonna attack you back. And as far as that goes, why don't you roll your damage first and let me know what you get on each of them?
Major damage.
I have a 5 and a 6.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Hammer time.
So what I think I'm going to do is I'm not going to inflict any more hit point damage on you. But I am going to say that like as you basically just like crush both of these things, the one that had its grip on your ankle just like clamps down really, really hard, and you feel something like snap in there.
So what is this debility called?
So let's see here. Am I actually going to give you a debility or not?
Because I'm already miserable.
Oh,
so
yes, you are.
I'm miserable, and I also have a debility.
Oh, so for the record, for future reference, thank you for reminding me of that. When you roll charisma or constitution while you have that miserable debility, you're going to be rolling with disadvantage.
Okay.
So that should have applied on the defend, but we'll, water under the bridge.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's not like it wasn't on the character sheet where I can see it, right?
It was a massive roll. It wouldn't have made any difference anyway.
Yeah.
Because it was like...
Yep.
So you are, I'm not going to have you mark another debility, but I am going to say that you're having, once you, manage to kill this thing and between you and Anwen managed to pry it off, you realize that, you are limping bad. Your left foot can barely take.
I also feel pain. This is not unpainful, so...
Yeah. No, but you were already kind of, miserable and in pain. This is just now, can't support weight. Or not much.
Okay. So where do I write this, or what should I write down?
We'll just keep it as fiction for now. It's not. There's no specific mechanical thing. It's just your ankle is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Okay.
Put down a note for fucked up ankle.
Anwen, you came for me.
Well, yeah.
I did. I'm sorry to put you through this, and she's just she's crying out of pain, but she's also just I'm just so sorry, Anwen.
I'm helping you up at this point.
Oh yeah, and I'm grimacing, and I'm just choking back cries of pain, because I'm trying. I'm trying to look as strong as possible in front of you, and
Well, I heard Torwen freaked out again, and then you came out here with Colwyn, who where's Colwyn?
That's a good question.
Typical.
He ran into the forest, and he said something about a tower and keys, and I'll tell you about it later.
Sure.
Right now, we need to find Torwen. He's a troubled child as always, but I don't think I can do it myself at this point.
I gotcha. I should let you know, I'm pretty sure he had another freak out back there, which may or may not have involved eating a deer with his bare teeth.
Oh my gosh. That was Torwen?
Those were pretty close together, so...
He's so gross.
Yeah, he was really gross. So I'm going to help you... Whoop, go ahead.
Yeah, I hold your hand. How are you helping me up? Is I guess my question, because I want to have a little bit of intimacy between Anwen and Winnie. So
this is he's going to be all business, but you're teenagers. Well, he's a teenager and you're not that much older, so there's going to be a few awkward moments where you bump into each other and blush a lot. So
yeah,
but he's mostly he's getting you up, he's helping you out, and he's looking around at your stuff, and he's like, why don't we go ahead and make a little bundle that we can come back for later, of your books and stuff, and then we'll take the hammer for now.
Yeah, and take the edibles. And so because creatures will come for my stuff and want to eat it.
Yes, that's a very good point.
All right, I'm going to jump in with a little bit of mechanics. So for starters, Winnie, you had 9 slots available, and we're going to say that the herb bushel, the cook pot, or one of those unused spots has been destroyed by the this fight.
Yeah. Okay.
So make your choice and kind of mark off one of them.
I'm definitely going to destroy the cook pot.
Okay.
It was shattered. No. I think that's strong. I kind of don't want to destroy the herb bushel because it would be helpful for my character, but I'm going to destroy the herb bushel. Yeah.
So do you think that was the only like healing kit you brought with you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Hang on out. If that's a healing kit, if we can make a poultice, we should put that on your ankle now.
Okay.
Unless you're not destroying it; it got destroyed. Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Well, no, that's appropriate then.
Yeah, I think it got destroyed.
Okay. So then, and you're saying that was like the only one that you brought with you, because it is perfectly legitimate. If you want, you can say that you brought an additional kit of remedies with you. You've got 3 undeclared slots.
Yeah, I don't think I did bring anything else.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like trying to think as Winnie what she would do. I think it'd be a bunch of useless stuff. Like maybe some foodstuffs, like for like the journey. That's what she brought. Like
Sure. So in that case, put on one of those inventory slots. Put in provisions.
Okay.
And that can't go in the books. Takes up 2 slots.
Okay.
That's why there was a double quotes there. So you would probably want to put that up in your light load area.
Okay.
So just to kind of clarify this, here, let me do a little bit of screen sharing here. Share. All right. So any item that you've got, like your hammer, for example, you see how it says size with the 2 blocks next to it. So that means that it's going to take up 2 of your inventory slots. So both the hammer and the book take up 2 of those. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going with. So if you got the provisions up there, and then
does that count for 3, or is that for 1 slot?
The provisions would just be 1 slot, and then you got like a number of uses on it. I think it's like 6 uses.
Okay.
So the other thing is, if either one of you want to, you can decide that you have a flask of whiskey with you, and use that for the recover move. Whiskey is a small item, so you just gonna put like a flask of whiskey down there. But the trick is you can only use it once without eating a meal. Otherwise, you take a debility because it's crappy whiskey.
No, thanks, man. I don't do drugs.
Seems legit.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben. You put it in the slot. You don't. Whiskey is a small item, so
small item.
So you can just put it down in the small items section.
Oh, I see.
And then it's just a. If you use it more than once, you will end up taking a debility.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. So, since you don't have any healing kits, basically, and you could at this point use the recover move. And just for our listening audience, the recover move is when you take time to catch your breath and expend an appropriate resource, rations, whiskey, water, etc., recover 5 hit points. You can't benefit from this move again until you take more damage. And if you tend to a debility or to a problematic wound, say how, and the GM will either say that it's taken care of or tell you what's required to do so.
Okay.
So you don't have to do this, right? You could definitely just sort of drop your stuff and keep going. But if you want to take the time and like eat a ration or take a swig of whiskey or tend to your leg, right? These are all legitimate things that you could do.
Lou, what do you think Winnie should do? Like, is your character, is Torwen?
Well, you don't know that
I
Torwen's
know.
been knocked unconscious and he's being dragged away by a monster. You
Then-
just heard a monster, right?
Yeah, and so what do you think Winnie feels for that? Because I'm not sure what she would feel.
Maybe maybe ask Patrick, because I feel like maybe whatever Anwen thinks you should do, you would probably do in the state that you're in.
And
I really don't mind if I get eaten by a monster and have to make a new character.
I think I love making new characters. I think that's honorable. And when at this point, I don't think I could like walk.
Yeah, I'm
and like
probably
be
going to want to.
effective. What do you think we should do?
I'm definitely going to want to like dress your ankle once we'll move a little bit away from all these corpses and sit down, but I'm going to want to make sure that your ankle is okay before we try to press on.
Yeah.
Because if it's broken, then I'm probably just going to like do my best to carry you back to town.
Yeah, I think that might be true. And I mean, I could start making some like dinner if we want to just spend the night, you know.
So you don't have to. If you took provisions, then we can just assume that that's food, right? Like potato, like a potato or some jerky or something like that.
I also
love
have
the
a
idea.
cook pot,
Yeah,
you know.
I love the idea of you like, oh, I could make dinner.
Do you still have a cook pot, or is it gone forever
Oh,
now?
I definitely have a cook pot. You know, that
Yeah.
thing is an
We're going to
iron.
leave the cook pot here. We're going to come back for the cook pot. I promise.
But do you want to spend the night here?
No, I think that we should keep looking for Torwen, but I think that you need a minute. So let's sit down. We'll have a sandwich, and then we'll head off after it.
Okay.
Okay, so Winnie, let me just double check. So I'm pretty sure that provisions have 6 uses. Let me just make sure of that. They do. So if you each expend or use up one of those provisions, you can each get 5 hit points back.
Do you mind spotting me lunch? I left in kind of a hurry.
Also, I'm going to be indulging in the whiskey.
I'll let using the whiskey, I'll let that clear your miserable ability. And then when you said you were looking at her ankle, right, to see what you could do about it? Okay. So it looks like it is it doesn't seem like it's broken, but she definitely like had something, like there's a puncture in there, and it looks like a bad twist. Probably when she did that like swing, right? She couldn't actually move with it, so it just like something torqued on there.
Okay.
You think she'd be able to keep going? It would suck, but you think she would be able to keep going if you'd find something to like brace it, like a length of wood and like some rags or some bandage or even some grass. You could probably make like bindings with it, but it's that length of wood that's going to be the hard part.
Well, we've got 3 fresh dog-sized carcasses. They've probably got sturdy bones.
Okay. That's interesting. Let's see here. So,
are we going to use a wishbone?
All right. Yeah. No, I think that makes perfect sense, right? Like Anwen, you're a hunter and a trapper, so it's not like you have any squeamishness or unfamiliarity with taking animals apart. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Do you so you just start like basically taking bones and stripping bones off of these things and turning them into a makeshift splint?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna be like, all right, this is gonna be weird. Hang on, and I'm basically gonna take off to the two longest leg bones I can find, and just strap them to either side of the ankle.
Okay,
that's great. I am curious what Winnie's response to this kind of like fairly bloody work is.
Winnie grins and bears it. She's like, you do what you have to do, Anwen. Thank you.
I'm like lecturing on the properties of hunting drakes while I do this, like a total nerd.
Yeah, and she like really appreciates that because it helps her like distract herself. It's like, and she never actually listens to Anwen. It's more ASMR to her, but she really like appreciates the sound of their voice.
Okay. This seems like a good time to take a break. I definitely need to take one. So back in 10 minutes. Okay. All right, and we're back. Everyone ready to go? All right, Torwen. The last thing you remember was staring into the face of this overgrown, starving child thing that had, well, hands and limbs. But it had, it basically looked like a overgrown child with limbs entirely too long, stretched out over emaciated, like skeletal-like bone structure, a torso that was too small, and a head with these kind of like wispy, horrible little like tufts of hair, like kind of stringing down off of it, and these bright crystalline teeth that just had too many teeth in its mouth, and these long red crystalline claws. And it grabbed you by the head, and you remember something kind of going dark, and now you once again are waking up to the boom, boom, boom of getting dragged through the grass.
Now I have no shield or spear.
Right.
On me.
Correct. So you are being dragged this time not by the shield, but by your leg. And you don't have your like your spear, your shield, or the hunk of meat. And the sky, like you're kind of like looking up and starting to think, getting dark. And there's also you start to realize that there is also like a bank of clouds starting to roll in from the southeast, and which is the general direction that weather kind of happens here. It kind of rolls up from the southeast and heads towards the mountains. Which, on the one hand, hey, that's kind of nice. Maybe it'll rain, break the drought a little. On the other hand, oh good, a storm. And it's sort of as you're starting to get this coming, like things are starting to come together. It stops and it drops your leg, and you kind of sense it take a couple of steps forward into the grass and kind of hunch down and start doing something. What do you do?
Probably. Well, I tried to fight it before and it kicked my ass, smashed my head into a rock.
Has that ever really stopped Torwen before, though?
Probably not, no. I think I've still got this hunting knife kind of like that I like belt knife that I established earlier. I guess as a player, I'm kind of curious to know what it's doing, but I think as Torwen, I'll probably just get my knife out and jump at its back.
So actually, I think it's worth asking: are you roiling with anger?
I think about this creature.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just about everything. Like,
I think the creature itself is very strange, right? Like, I don't like. As an audience, we know some things about it, but Torwen has like no idea what this thing is. This isn't like part of any like if it was a Crinwyn had kidnapped him or something, maybe he'd have some like way to think about it. I think he's probably just quite out of it, and maybe feeling. I think he's probably more upset about his slow dawning about Winnie like being serious about scapegoating him. I think he's probably more pissed off about that. This is just more pure survival. I think he's like, I tried to fight this thing before and it's got its back turned now. I'm gonna like smash it while I've got a chance, or it's gonna eat me.
All right, so you're not. You think like this is a cold, calculated bit of murder?
Yeah, this is just like I need to stay alive right now.
Okay. So I think if you want to sneak up on it and stab it, I think that is going to be defying danger.
Cool.
If you just want to like get up and rush the thing, I think that would be a hack and slash.
I think I'm probably sneaking. I'm
Okay.
trying to be quiet. I'm like slowly getting the knife off my belt and like trying to get up. Yeah, cool. All right, so I'm doing that with Dex for sneaking. Is that what we're?
Yeah, that sounds like
Okay.
precision to me, though. If you
Yeah.
wanted to make an argument for something else, I'd hear it.
I'm happy with that. Okay, here we go. I rolled a 6, but I have a +1, so that's a 7.
Okay. So 7 to 9, hard bargain, worse outcome, ugly choice. I think what this is that you get like close, and then like right as you're about to go for it, there's that and the thing like and so instead of you just being able to just deal damage to it, this is going to be a hack and slash if you want to carry through.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I'm gonna so it's spinning. It's kind of spinning around as I'm lunging for it. I'll roll and see what it looks like. Ooh, that's not good. What's my modifier? Yeah, that is a 6. I kind of like how it's, for me, this is establishing that this thing's, because I'm good at fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is establishing to me that this thing's actually like pretty badass. Has some good reflexes.
Now with that in mind, I just want to point out, Ben, you've got that ability to just give anyone in the party a retroactive +1 if you want to. You are muted.
I would totally give a +1. Even if I'm not in the proximity, it's just
correct. Yeah, it's a total meta mechanic because you're doing something outside of game. You get a meta mechanic to just sort of tip the balance in the player's favor.
Yeah, I give it to Torwen.
It is kind of nice because it is becoming slightly comedic how every time I try to hit this thing, it beats me. I don't mind if it beats me, but it would be nice to at least hurt it a little bit.
It'd be nice to demonstrate your core character concept. Yeah.
I wonder, I kind of think, so is this move that later on when you find out the story, that's how I'm thinking about it anyway, like this is how it makes it a better story later on to write it down.
Then your question is he rolling with advantage? No, what happens is your thing just lets you give a +1. So that just increases the 6 to a 7, which is the threshold for not failing.
I've got moves for damage that.
Oh yeah, so when he does damage, he does. Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. The heavy is fucking terrifying. So so you deal your damage, and you also have the move that means you impose disadvantage when they deal damage back, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let me just look at its moves.
Rolled 2 9s.
Damn. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So I think we're going to go with the obvious, right? There's the snap, and it just turns and flails and goes after you as well. Mm-hmm. It's going to be doing 7 damage to you. And
is that with the did you roll the disadvantage thing?
Well, yeah, normally it would have advantage on its damage, your thing cancels it out. So all right, so why don't you describe? Well, okay, so you did 9 damage to it, and you were just going in and stabbing at it as it was spinning at you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you just get a nasty bit in, and like right underneath its, maybe right over here, right? Just get this in.
Yeah, I was aiming for the back of its neck, and it spun right now. Yeah,
and sort of at the same time, there's this just it's like a trebuchet, right? Just and the arm kind of comes up. And there's like we see this like sort of cut back, to see the two of like the scene starts out like close of Torwen's eyes, just like, and then we cut back and like just a spray of blood and Torwen going like spinning back away from this thing, landing in the grass in a slump, in a heap.
And I was probably already covered in my own blood from earlier as well, like dried blood.
Yeah. And there's this like, and it starts burrowing in the ground. And Torwen, you kind of like you're, oh my God, everything's on fire, right? Like you're bleeding all over the place. The world is spinning, and there's this horrible, horrible noise. And sort of as you come to your senses, you see it like, and like its legs kicking, and then suddenly it's gone.
Shit.
And like underneath the ground.
I'll probably pass out again.
Okay, so it just sort of like
I'm gonna crumple.
Staring at the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anwen and Winnie, after you used some Drake bones to make a makeshift splint, you kind of like, I got the impression that you were going to continue on following the trail.
That was my
Definitely.
intention. Okay. It keeps going for a while. Like you definitely get this sense. You don't hear that laughter anymore. But you find the place where, like you find like a rock with signs of a scuffle. And Anwen, you can kind of tell this, right? Just sort of reading the ground. You find signs of a scuffle and a rock with some blood on it, just kind of like sticking out of the fields. And then from there, there's like a definite dragging going through the grass.
And my shield's there.
Oh, right. You're right. And the shield and like a snapped spear, I think.
Oh, that's not ideal.
Yeah. So if you want a shield, hey, there's a shield available.
Yeah, I'm
Winnie
gonna grab
picks up the shield. Oh, yeah, she gives it to Anwen. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I strap it on my back in such a way that it's not overly encumbering, but definitely of no use in a hurry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'll bump you up to basically having a normal load instead of a light load, but yeah, you can definitely carry it without any significant. It just means that, like, if you're sneaking around, for example, it might possibly get in the way.
Okay. Well, I can always drop it if I need to sneak. So yeah, we'll take that with, since shields are expensive. He's going to want that back. I guess there's probably a trail of blood heading out from that rock. Yes.
Yeah, it is remarkably easy to follow at this point, right? Like I said, he basically was getting dragged. But as you start to go on, the sun's starting to kind of get a little bit low, and the two of you do notice, like the kind of swooping up, the wind starting to pick up, and the clouds are getting darker. The sky is getting darker to the south.
I'm going to ask. I'm going to look about. I am looking about. I notice that Anwen's looking at the sky, and I look at it too, and it's like they're roiling in like really interesting ways, and there's like a little bit of, like a hue to it that just makes me a little uncomfortable. And I'm looking at the grass around me, and in that moment, I discern realities.
What exactly are you studying? Like,
I am studying the way that fate is playing on me. I'm studying I'm looking out for danger, and I'm looking out for what has made these bloody tracks. what trouble that Torwen has gotten into.
Sure. Okay, so you're just sort of like taking in the whole scene, trying to figure out what's happened, what you should be on the lookout. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Go ahead and roll discern realities then.
Okay. So that is an discern reality is plus wisdom or
Correct.
It's a 9.
Okay, so that's going to be one question off of the list.
Yeah. I'm going to ask. I'm asking, what? Oof. What here is not what it appears to be.
That storm, something about it, something about the hue in it, and something about the way that it's just sort of like seems to have come up out of nowhere. Something about that makes you think that that storm is not completely natural.
Okay.
And like, you know, a couple of things that are coming to your mind in regards to that are Torwen having climbed the stone and getting struck by lightning in a cloudless sky last night. And also the fact that Colwyn ran ahead to the ruined tower. Like those, for whatever reason, you can't quite put together why, but those two things like seem somehow related to this storm.
And what here is tainted by chaos?
Do you get to ask that in addition?
For free, yeah.
For free? Oh, okay. Yeah. What here is tainted by chaos? That motherfucking storm is tainted by chaos.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you denounce the storm?
And I relay my suspicions to Anwen, and I say, Anwen, this is not looking good.
Yeah, okay. No, this is not a this is not a good day.
Do not let the chaos of the moment stir your heart. Protect me, please, and I'll protect you.
For sure, my dude. Absolutely.
All right. Do you keep following the trail?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're going slower, partly just because Winnie can't walk as fast, and partly because I'm just rushing into that situation earlier was very stupid, and I know it. So I'm probably walking with bow drawn, maybe even an arrow like lightly knocked, but you know, not whatever.
Plus, you don't really care for Torwen, right? So it's not as much of an emergency to like rescue him.
I mean, that's what I'm doing out here, but yeah, I'm not like panicked and running out to save him so much as trying to find out what he's done today.
and it's like, what is this like normal for you? Like, are the woods like usually this dangerous, or is this more than usual?
No, the woods are not usually this dangerous. We're going to have to talk about that when we get back home, because the woods have gotten a lot more dangerous all of a sudden. It's not relevant right now. But
okay.
No.
Sorry, Anwen.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay. No, it's, yeah. No, this is pretty weird for me.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, you've probably had your run-ins with predators or whatnot in the woods before.
Oh, yeah, and I've taken out a decent number of Crinwin. Like I've gotten pretty good at just sniping them from far off when I find them. But you know, I don't have trees for cover, and also these monsters, like those hunting drakes, that was big, and this is like I heard there was some sort of monster attack, which might be what this is. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, kind of like montage scene, right, of the two of you. Like from on high, the two of you kind of like moving through this vast grassland, everything crinkling in the wind starting to pick up. And as the sun starts to get like maybe not lower, right, but it gets like it's starting to get past its zenith, you two come upon. Actually, I think what happens next is you see some crows circling like up above, and then like kind of alighting down into the grassland.
I'll totally be asleep with my eyes open and breathing very shallowly when you come along as well.
Is there anything special about Torwen's markings in this moment as the storm approaches?
That's a good question. Torwen, when they come across you and like kind of shoo the crows off.
I don't think so right now,
changed?
but I think that have you ever seen photos of scars of the like burns that people get when they're struck by lightning? They actually look like if you imagine really light arcing electricity, I think they hadn't, you know, when you get hit or bruised at first, it doesn't show up, but since he's been out here, he's pretty much covered in his own blood and has all these lightning shaped, like really fine lightning shaped like scars all over him, but the markings themselves are just looking like regular tattoos, at least for the time being.
So Tor, when you kind of like come to see these two sort of like looking down at you, and there's like a little, you know, caw off in the distance of a couple of crows.
I think I'll go to like kick out at their feet before I realize, like, I think that as I look up, because it's starting to get dark, right, there's these two shadows over me. I'm like, oh! And then I like realize before I cause them any damage, I'm like, what are you two doing out here? Winnie,
we've come to help you out, Torwen.
Are you going to help me out like you did earlier by scapegoating me in front of the entire town?
Torwen, can you look at yourself? There's something going on.
I cannot look at myself, no.
Okay.
What's wrong?
Look, you are my friend, and you're one of the people of the village, and I don't want you to get eaten in the woods like you are right now. And I'm not going to apologize for accusing you of something that I think you actually might have something to do with. Whether you know it or not, you've been acting very strangely lately. More than usual.
I thought we were friends, Winnie.
I thought we were friends too. But I don't think you're fully in control of yourself right now. And I think that needs to be brought to the attention of the town. And we need to figure this out.
Who is fully in control of themselves?
I try to be.
You
At least
two
we
are
can try
not
to
fully in control of yourselves.
Anwen stops and goes, I do okay, buddy.
Bullshit.
And
whichever wound I'm tending right now, I poke.
And I sit down next to Torwen, and I start drinking my whiskey to get debilitated.
You getting debilitated.
Yeah.
Let's get debilitated.
And I say, Torwen, I'm not here to take your shallow life like philosophies. Okay. We don't all try to exist in a state of perfect freedom all the time. And I know you just want to live your life, and just work and eat and go to sleep. I work with you. I know how you feel, but like right now, at the very least, please come back to the village with us. It's not safe out here. And something spooky is like, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about you, and I don't want to feel bad about you. Like, there's just something and I wish I knew like how to explain this in reasonable terms. Like my whole life.
Oh
is
my
like,
God, how long are you going to keep talking down to me? Let's go, I'll come back.
Torwen,
Jesus.
just
Oh, not Jesus. What's the cool god? Tor!
Tor.
Oh,
Torwen.
Tor!
Do we want to get out of the elements, or do you want to go back now? What do you want to do, Torwen?
Well,
Anwen. So let me just interrupt.
Can you put-
Anwen, as you're kind of like as these two are was Winnie's getting drunk, and Winnie, I just marked the dazed ability for you.
Yeah.
The and you kind of like patch this, finish patching them up as best as you can. But you also notice, like, kind of looking around, you spot where Torwen wounded the thing. Like, you see like a kind of a darker, weirder looking blood, just sort of like pooled over, and you also see where the thing was digging. And it definitely occurs to you that if you guys are going to take this thing out, following it seems kind of like your best bet at this point. Like, who knows where it's going to go, and it might also get Colwyn if it is going back to the ruined tower. But that storm is roiling in. So
what does the hole? What does the hole look like that it's dug its way into?
do you all go and investigate?
I'm gonna check it out. I'll probably I'll recount some of my as part of my rejoinder to Winnie. I'll kind of explain what my day has been like since I ran out of the village to help them out with their problem. I only came out here to help you out, and I've been beaten half to death. I mean, come look at this. I stabbed it, and it just burrowed into the fucking ground.
Anwen, you look like you wanted to say something.
So Anwen's like trailing you along, listening to you recount your day, and all of a sudden, just kind of quietly, he goes, "Hey, Torwen. I left early, so I didn't really I left really early this morning, so I didn't really hear about what happened yesterday. But my sister said you peed on the stone. Is that true?"
I didn't pee on the stone. That's an old story. I climbed on the stone. That was fucking what's-his-face that I wailed on, remember? And he died. He peed on the stone.
Oh, okay, yeah, that tracks. I remember that. Okay, so you climbed on the stone, though, and then you got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And you don't think it's a little bit possible that some of the bad luck you've had since then might have something to do with that?
No. Do you?
Yeah, buddy, I think I do. I think that's probably the cause of a certain chain of events. But you know what? Let's, for the moment, let's focus on what we have here. Are we the hunting party? Should we be tracking down this monster? I'm willing, but I'm also not particularly wounded, whereas you both definitely are.
I'm not hurt.
Anwen, if you're in this, I think we should kill it. This thing is threatening our people, and I don't want to deal with this right now. I want to deal with Torwen. So let's go kill this like monster. Torwen, what did it look like?
Kind of looked like a oh, there's a possum in my wall. It kind of looked like a really freaky kid, like a demon kid, and it had red teeth, and it punches really hard. Don't let that thing punch you.
All right.
So there was a demon kid, and the sketchy midwife ran away. I'm just saying. But yeah. So is this thing burrowing, or did it create a tunnel that we might actually be able to follow?
Yeah, so when you guys get there to kind of start looking around and investigating, what you realize is that there's a like there is kind of a tunnel that it would sort of like uncovered and burrowed through, and it strikes you as something that it like uncovered rather than kind of like a rabbit warren type thing where it didn't just do this right now, like it kind of dug under this. But it also dawns on you as you're standing there and getting close to it that you are. If you all take a look at this screen right here, so you all have kind of like followed the like out to the flats, kind of skirting the highway or the West Road. And you realize as you're starting to kind of like look at this and look at the tunnel that just a few paces past that, the grasses give way to what must be the West Road. Or sorry, this is the highway, not the West Road. Where'd that go? So the tunnel appears to be going underneath the stretch of road that you are standing in front of. Right, so you're like right here, and the tunnel is going underneath this.
Since I don't have any light sources, do any of you?
Well, you can have light sources magically in your gear if you decide you do, right?
Well, you could, except I think everyone's filled up and like defined all of their gear at this point. Winnie might still have some empty slots.
Yeah, I have 2 slots left.
Okay. Yeah, so you could like produce a torch, or an oil lamp or something like that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's if you want to get like that would really only be necessary if you wanted to actually like follow it into that little burrow.
Yeah,
Well,
I think playing dangerously because we have so few sessions. I think it would be awesome to burrow. But what are you thinking, Anwen?
I'm gonna jump into the tunnel soon if nobody else does. In fact, I do jump into the tunnel. I'm like, hey, it's dark down here.
Torwen,
I
wait!
can't see anything.
Wait, take your shield. I'm sick of carrying it.
So you will not fit down there with a shield for certain. Keep in mind, like this thing is this thing is like its torso is maybe like this big, right? It's just all limb and a kind of slightly oversized head. Like its head is honestly its largest thing.
I try to jump in the tunnel and my legs are kicking out for a while before I suddenly like fall down into the thing.
I will point out, because I think you all are, like this is a well enough established thing that you all do know that the roads are warded, right? Like the roads are generally considered safe, and all sorts of legends say like you stay on the road and you'll be safe. But there's things that like evil can't cross the road, violence can't happen on it, etc.
So it went underneath the road because it couldn't cross the road?
That is a very reasonable thing to decide.
I still want to go immediately into the tunnel.
I'll meet you on the other side, buddy. You go ahead.
No,
So
like,
you're
seriously,
thinking...
Torwen's not fitting, right? Like Torwen's a big dude. The only one of you three, I think, who could get in there is probably Anwen.
Okay, I removed my stuck shoulders from the tunnel. I'm like, Anwen, go see what's down there.
No. Let's go over the road and see if it comes out on the other side.
I thought you wanted to be like some kind of person people sung songs about or some shit.
Torwen, I'm going to be totally honest with you. All right, this may sting a little, but it's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while. I do, which is why I don't take your advice most of the time.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah. So let's go over the road. seriously, this like, let's at least see if we can find the other end of the tunnel before we dive into it.
Do you wait for them, Anwen? Like, are you waiting for them to go agree with you, or do you just go?
I mean, I'll give them a minute if it seems like they're like collecting themselves. I'm not gonna just abandon Winnie, except she's drunk now, isn't she? So I'm probably just gonna be like, "Hey, Winnie, we should go now, don't you think?"
Yeah, we should go. Let's do it.
Definitely. All right.
I'm at least going to yell into the tunnel before we go in a frustrated kind of roar.
I am picturing the Viggo Mortensen as Strider Aragorn, just like a shitty day. Yeah, not you guys find the other side of the hole like pretty easily on the far side of the road. So just to give
like, oh, of course it's here. I'm never going to hear the end of this now. As he follows up behind them, think they know everything.
And sure enough, there is like a continuing bloody trail, kind of like bits of blackish blood moving through the grass. The thing seems to be leaving less, like it's not moving as quickly. And if it weren't for the blood, you have a feeling Anwen that it would be harder to track. But given the little drops every now and then, it's no problem. And it is heading directly, like it's still, a ways off, but it's heading directly towards the ruined tower.
Of course.
As time-wise, it's probably just a little bit afternoon, actually. Like maybe 2:00 in the afternoon. The sun's still pretty high, but you do have like that storm cloud is starting to roll in and get closer.
Given my watching it so far, do I have an estimate of how long before it hits us?
I bet if you rushed, you could get to the ruined tower before it hit, and that's probably the only shelter within hours.
Well, I hate everything about that.
I mean, you could also like dig a hole or, look around and try and find some shelter. Like the flats are largely unexplored. People don't come out here if they can help it. But
are the
you
wards
don't
on the
see
road?
A cave or anything. Okay.
Are the wards on the road strong enough that we might not be struck by lightning if we were on the road?
It seems like it'd be less likely that you'd be struck by lightning on the road. On the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't trust Torwen. He's a bad influence. So
I'd say if
anyone's going to get struck by lightning while standing on the warded roads, it's the guy who got struck by lightning last night standing on the stone when there was no clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
The person that Torwen feels the closest to now is Colwyn, right? And now, like, I know that, like, they're out here heading towards the tower. So I've got a lot of motivation to be getting there, like, quite quickly. That's why I'm still out here instead of, like, going home to lick my wounds. I mean, is that what you guys are doing here also? I mean, why don't you? I think, in fact, Torwen will be like, why are you two even still here? I mean, when you rescued your little friend, maybe you should both go home. I'll get Colwyn myself. You two don't need to be here.
You're right, Torwen. I don't need to be here.
Yeah, Winnie, far be it from me to say that he's onto something, but
okay, bye then.
is moving steadily away from town, and we're a 3 to 4 hour walk just to get back to Stonetop.
You're not scared of a little storm, are you?
No, I'm not scared of a little storm at all. But look at that motherfucker.
Just to be
Big
clear,
laugh with lightning like birds all over his face.
and as you laugh, like in the distance, there's just like the clouds just like light up with like lightning kind of coursing through them.
Some thunder. Count thunder laughing.
Anwen, just to be clear,
wonderful lightning strike.
Sorry, Anwen, just to be clear, it is like if you turned it around now and headed back to Stonetop, you would still get caught in the storm.
And it wouldn't be the brave thing to do.
Well, I mean, it certainly would be a sensible thing to do, right? Like this thing might have been mortally wounded, but the tower is definitely closer than Stonetop at this point.
Screw it, let's go to the tower.
Maybe they'll mention you in my song, Anwen.
All right, Winnie, are you coming too?
Yeah, I'm gonna come just because I'm following them.
Okay.
And she's and Torwen, just don't give me flack, okay? You know, I'm here for you. I'm not here for myself, okay? Let's just go kill this thing.
At the moment, I would leave you out here all by yourself like Colwyn did, to be honest.
What? You'd leave me out here by myself? You're not
well,
nice.
You're kind of being a dick.
Okay.
All right. So you guys are going to head on, right? You do have so if you are going to get to the tower and potential shelter before the storm rolls in, you're going to kind of have to rush, which is tough given that Winnie's got a sort of like twisted knee that's been braced in. So I am going to invoke the struggle as one move. So when the GM calls on you to defy danger as a group, they'll describe the challenges you face. The challenge here being Winnie's limp and Torwen's just very, very bad day.
We seem to be struggling against totally like splitting off or something too. That's
there's also that, right?
Maintaining our group like on this journey.
Cohesion. But the biggest challenge is simply the distance that you have to cross and the before the storm hits you. So say how you each do your part, and then you'll each end up rolling plus an appropriate stat. So don't actually roll anything yet. Tell me what you're doing and to kind of like help with this or to do this. And it could just be, I'm hauling ass.
Okay, I'm crying on Torwen's shoulder as he's helping me and apologizing for how much of a bad friend I've been.
Yeah, the alcohol's really you can. Like you're still drinking, right? You're like, I really love you. I'm sorry. I love you so much.
I'm so sorry, Torwen. This is my fault.
Yeah.
So I think that's charisma, or
you're helping with charisma, or are you defying charisma? Is that what? Are you meant to be rolling with how you're helping?
Am I defying wisdom? Is this not the wise thing to do?
That is an interesting question. You know what? Let's have it. Let's say that you're doing it with charisma. Torwen, how are you?
I'm gonna say it's basically I'm soldiering on, right? Like I'm helping Winnie when I can't help, and I'm quite badly wounded, even if I'm not admitting it, and so I'm just struggling along.
That's like an 11.
Yeah. So when we do struggle as one, I want to get everyone locked in, and then we'll roll,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So okay, so you're basically just like gonna haul on. So I'd be cool with either strength since you're like actually carrying part of the load, or con, whichever one you prefer.
I'll go con.
Okay. And Anwen, how are you doing your part here?
All right. Well, if he's doing the heavy lifting, and then that frees me up to kind of. I know we're going through grassland, but like pick the best path. Like look for the big rocks and navigate them around them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like avoiding the tightest packed bits of nettles and brush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe it's also like looking for places where there's more of those Drake ambush points.
yeah, keeping an eye out for dangers. So basically, like I could just leave them in the dust, but instead I'm heading out, coming back, heading out, coming back. So
cool. I think that'll be wisdom then, unless you had a better idea.
Anything but wisdom.
Oh.
I was thinking intelligence because I'm out looking for problems.
Sure, yeah, and
Okay.
this definitely falls within your area of expertise, so I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody roll, and Winnie, feel free to keep the roll that you already had. And then tell me if any of you got a 6 or less.
10.
I got a 6 or less.
Okay, no, that's totally fine. So the way that Struggle is One works, if you get a 6 or less, you find yourself in a spot, the GM will describe it. On a 7 to 9, you pull your weight, and on a 10 plus, you do well enough to get someone else out of a spot if you can tell us how. So, on when you're kind of going out, scouting ahead, there and back, I think. Oh. I think as you're doing this, like Winnie's like, oh, I love you, I'm so sorry. Like between that and Torwen's bluster back and forth, like I think your emotions are kind of getting the better of you on this. And so I want you to describe the spot you get yourself into as a result of that.
Does it have to be like?
It doesn't have to be like an external danger. It could be you losing your temper. It could be, getting lost. It could be, any number of things.
Okay, I think I'm grumbling under my breath because I don't have. No offense, I have no respect for Torwen, and I'm like, Winnie and I are best friends, and she's not on my list of crushes, but it's still really awkward to hear her being like, "Oh, I love you" to anybody, but especially this dipshit, because I'm 17 and I can't help that that's weird. So I'm like grumbling under my breath, and I'm like kicking stuff, and I picture myself managing to just like completely land in a pile of brambles, like such that I'm like it takes me. I tear my sleeve, I fuck up my cloak, I extricate myself, and I am just entirely cranky now afterwards.
And are you just like cussing and whatnot, like as you're stuck in this? All right. So, well, since both of you got a 10 plus, then feel free to work together. But describe how you get Anwen out of that spot and out of his funk.
I was at first I'm thinking of like giving him a cracker and a kiss on the forehead, but
that could actually ride on the tail coats of what I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
I actually kind of wanted to see them, like, because we're using the road in part of our travels, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Are we on the
road?
Anymore,
actually. Not anymore.
Okay, cool.
You crossed the road, but now you are. Here, let's put this on screen again. You are basically getting to here-ish, right? Kind of where you can see my cursor.
Right. In that case, I don't have an idea.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking, Torwen?
It just doesn't work without the road.
Okay. Torwen,
It could actually be like maybe it's just a case of me actually having enough social grace to realize that Anwen's jealous or something, and I think Torwen maybe considers playing it up to piss him off more, but then just kind of gives like
play it up. I think you'd be really clever.
You want me to make Anwen more jealous?
Yeah, make Anwen
and then you're able to smooth it over to help.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm the dickhead. Okay. Yeah, I think I can see Anwen like coming back, like maybe from behind us a little bit, and like just all fucked up, like bramble scratches and like torn cloak and everything. And I think Winnie's got her arm around me to like support her, and I think I just kind of look back and like and give like I'm not interested in Winnie at all in that way, but I think I turn around and give Anwen like a big wink, like over my shoulder, just to like just to piss him off.
How is this getting him out of his funk?
I'm not doing that. That's what Winnie is about to do.
And I see that Torwen does this, and I'm like, I look at Anwen, and I'm like, Anwen, you look like hell, you know, but don't mind Torwen. You know, he is hell. So, you know, honestly, you're the best traveling companion here. So please, like, ignore what he's doing. You're cool. And I give you a nice rye cracker and give you a kiss on the forehead, and I say, you know, you look, you know, like really roughed up right now, but yeah. And
so that basically shocks my system to the point where I forgot I was in a mood, and I'm just like, okay, let's go.
And perhaps even I think that chills Torwen out a bit too, and he smiles at you to try be nice, but his face is still all covered in blood, so it's just like this white, like super scary, like smile.
And right as he gives you that smile, and like the sky starts to get a little bit dark, right? Because the storm has reached up around, like past the like it's almost like looping around the ruined tower, which is now just sort of like looming not far away from you guys, and it's starting to get like obscure the sun, and there's just like sheet lightning going all throughout this thing. The tower is, like, from the direction that you are approaching it, the tower is up on this rise, maybe like a mile away from where you are. And there's a little bit of woods around the top of the thing. And they call it the ruined tower, and it definitely is there. You can tell that it used to be a fairly magnificent structure. But there's sort of this divot taken out of the hill that it's on kind of the Stonetop-ish side of the hill. And what you can see of this thing is kind of over the treetops. It's this like roundish, jagged pile of stones that at first you're kind of looking at it like, oh, God, that just looks like a house. And then you realize that the trees that it's towering over are probably like themselves 20 to 30 feet tall. And so like you've got this pile of stones, and there are these 4 little spikes popping out around the thing. And vaguely, as you get closer, it's kind of hard over the wind and over the storm, but occasionally you hear this like pew, 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 noise coming from up there. Do you approach, or is there anything you want to do before you head up the hill to it?
Does that sound like a creature is making that noise, or does it sound like, because that could be like a twang of something sailing past real fast?
I don't think you have any inherent experience that would be similar to this. Like, you're welcome to spout lore or to discern realities about it if you want, but like
I
that
wouldn't
noise
mind
is
maybe.
fucking weird.
I'd maybe like to try to like do a spout lore thing with the context of my dreams and being found like at the tower. Like, I wonder maybe if this is a familiar, some sort of
Sure. Yeah, roll it.
Yeah.
Give me a 2d6 plus intelligence for spout lore.
Cool. I rolled a 7.
7. Something interesting on you to make it useful. Yeah, I think you have a recollection from your dreams and from, like a vague memories that you sometimes associate with, maybe having been there before you were found, right? Which is weird because when they found you, you were like basically an infant. But you have this, like, there's a dream that you've had where you are kind of like lying on your back in the courtyard of what you must assume, or what you assume is the tower, and seeing these rope-like things far above you, like snapping in the wind and making that noise. But what they are, like, who knows, man? But you're pretty sure that there's something attached to the tower that is making those noises.
I think we hear Torwen as this storm's rolling up, like mimicking the twang, twang noise to himself quietly as they walk along. But I don't think he shares the recollection or anything.
Yeah, and Winnie does a spout lore about the history of the tower.
Oh, sure.
Because she has advantage on that, so she has those books of, and one of the books she's brought is of this area.
Okay. And actually, even before that, don't you have like a background move that does something? Spout lore about people or history of Stonetop. Okay, so this is not technically the people or history of Stonetop. But if you want to pull out a book,
is this not Stonetop? This is because it's the tower. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. However, you could absolutely use one of your books, or one of your uses of your books if you wanted to stop and pull it out. What exactly does that?
And I guess fictionally, can you position that? Like, does that have to be occurring like right now? I'm just thinking like with a storm coming up, and this is this like a little flashback thing to study? Like, is that how it can work? Or I know you've physically got these things with you, but I just wonder how that works.
Yeah, there's supposed to be the bag of books does have the slow tag, right? So that implies that you're actually like getting the book out and finding an appropriate thing in it. But you can certainly spout lore about what you know about the tower without referencing the book. The book just makes you better at it.
You're right. I'm not going to use the book. I'm just going to spout lore, because it's not fictionally like in it. So I have a nice, what is it called? A 2.
You could call that an 11. All right. So let me just double check what the book does. Okay, so for the record, if you expend a use and consult a book, ignore a spout lore roll you just made and treat it as a 10 plus. But that would mean that, like, if you do this, you're basically gonna like be getting this book out and flipping through it while the storm, like, and just kind of like finish as the storm starts to just come down on you guys.
I think that's cool. But what
I
do
don't
you
mind
guys
that we're all I don't mind that we're all having a moment, like looking out over the silhouette of this broken like tower and maybe sitting there even to rest. Like, I mean, we don't really know exactly when the storm's gonna strike, right? That's cool for me.
I think I'm willing to get soaked. So
Anwen, you okay with? Are you doing anything while Winnie like they rest and Winnie pulls the book out?
I mean, so are we actually at the base of the ruins now, or are we still right outside?
You're like at the bottom of the hill, I think.
Okay, so we still need to take shelter.
Yeah, though, you know, you could like hustle if you wanted to. You could definitely like hustle up the hill and then get the book out.
Yeah, I mean, when I see Winnie digging for the book, I'm going to be like, hey, why don't we get up there? And then we'll look in the book.
you know, Anwen, you're right. You're right on the ball.
So I'm just kind of like ushering my drunk friend along.
Okay. So,
Wait, I'm pretty sure there's something in a book about this.
okay, so first, you guys start heading up the book. So let's put a mark off a use of the book, Winnie, and then we'll do a little description, and we'll get up there, and I'll give you your 10 plus on the spout lore. So as you're heading up the side of the hill, that kind of divot that I mentioned on the side of the hill, as you get closer to it, and you kind of have to go past it in order to get up to the top. You realize that it's much bigger than it seemed from down below. And it's like someone really took a scoop years and years, like ages ago, out of the side of the hill. And there's actually still kind of like a bowl in the side of the thing. And sort of throughout that bowl, you can kind of see little glimpses of stone, like big chunks of stone and little like even gleaming bits of metal down in there. And so with that said, you're looking for shelter. So that would imply continuing to go up the hill. And when you get to the tree line at the top, that's about the point when you would probably feel comfortable, like popping out a book and kind of taking this in. But as just to kind of describe the scene at the top of the hill, there's a thin kind of ring of trees, and then a fairly broad, flat top to the hill. There is a wall that is still mostly intact. It kind of makes you all think of the old wall and what that must have looked like around Stonetop. And then inside, like on the other side of that wall, you see the kind of ruined, like the tops of buildings. Like, have you ever seen like burnt out old buildings, right? You see there's just like crumbled out walls, occasionally like a chimney still standing. But no roofs, no sign of habitation. And then in the middle of that is the actual tower itself. And the tower is this massive pile of stone on stone on stone with these 4 metal spires coming out of it. And one of the spires goes really, really high up, like far past what the stones are on, and kind of like curves at the top. And they've all they all kind of end at different heights, but 2 of those things have these like ropes, it looks like, just sort of like flapping in the wind. And now that you're up there, especially as the wind is starting to pick up, you can all tell that that's where that noise is coming from. And it's super weird. All right. So Winnie, you kind of like crack out a book. Give me some sense of what you're looking for, like what kind of information you're looking for. You're on mute.
I'm looking for I don't think she knows what she's looking for. I think she's looking for anything on the tower, and like maybe architecture. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I think what. Yeah. So you find a couple of vaguely sketched maps that someone who went out and explored that area previously kind of drew and tucked away in like in a chronicle, or it got found and put into the chronicle. And just sort of like looking through it, the kind of sketched out maps, they show like there doesn't seem to be much of interest in those outbuildings near the wall. There is a like a main, kind of like a round main area, and then there's a little bit of collapse. There's a drawing that kind of sketches out a second level that is like little notes like treacherous, watch your footing, etc. And then in the center of that, there is a shaft, and then a series, like a stairway going down, and then there's just like this rudimentary set of sketches for the bottom of the stairs, and like a handful of rooms kind of spider webbing off of that.
Okay.
The specific thing that it meant, like a couple of things that it mentions are like it makes note of, or sorry. The useful thing is that it looks like from these drawings that first level, the part that a good chunk of it is going to be have an intact roof and something that you could definitely get into and shelter from.
Hey guys, I think I know where we have to go. Okay, follow me. And I just like just crumple as I try to walk there.
And is that when the storm fully like follow me?
Perfect.
You seem to be muted there, Jeremy.
Sorry, as you guys are starting to step out of the tree cover, like maybe you get like halfway into it. Like I think you're probably just passing through the gateway in the wall. You like see the opening to the big tower, which is this like huge metal door. Like it's an archway, probably like 30 feet tall is the arch itself, and there's this like half of the door kind of like hanging off on one hinge and making a kung, kung, kung noise. The other half of the door is nowhere to be seen. And as you get about halfway to it, just sheets of rain start coming down. And then there's like the light, like all of you go blind for a second as like a bolt of lightning just it goes right down the one of those spires.
Can I have a self-indulgent moment of description? I was just picturing like Torwen's got all this blood on his face, right? And I think as the rain comes down, we get that kind of shot of the water running down, and we're starting to see his skin underneath. But I like this idea of like the lightning flashes having this kind of like superimposed like images of him as a child. Like here, do you know what I mean? So we see this lightning flash, and then we see a child like in the tower, kind of as he's coming through the gates and stuff. Yeah, that's it. Self-indulgence complete.
What does Torwen feel right now? Is there like a sensation in his body? Like does he see anything that we don't see?
I think I think perhaps this isn't just like cinematography. I think he might actually be getting these superimposed sounds and images, and maybe it's the I kind of like the idea that the images, there's not a storm in the images of him here as a child, like it's sunny, so we get these weird things in between the lightning where we've still got the sound of the storm, but there's the sun in the places that they're in, and it all looks slightly different.
Is it actually like, as the lightning flashes, like, does Torwen look like he's in different moments of his life? Like, physically
Ooh,
to
that's
us?
interesting.
Like,
you want there to be some sort of supernatural thing happening?
I think it's
I
like,
like that.
This is like a moment for Torwen. So, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, because maybe even I like the idea. Maybe you are all seeing this vision as well. So when the lightning flashes, you see a child on the stones. I actually kind of like the idea that we see one of the scenes we see when it's flashing really heavily is there's a kind of cloaked figure like over a young child, and they've got like the it's that like stick and poke kind of tattoo thing. You can see somebody like actually like tattooing this like really young child, but their identity hidden.
Yeah, I could even see like the shadow of Torwen presenting these different images to me.
Oh yeah,
like of a young boy, and then it's larger, and then there's like a shadow beside you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really...
In the lightning flashes, yeah.
Anwen, I think you see in particular, like your eyes. You probably think your eyes are playing tricks on you at first, but you definitely, like, towards the end, right as you guys are about to go inside and get out of the rain, I think you're looking back, and, or like, you take a look back, and there's a flash, and you see that bit that Lou described of like a baby sitting on a stone with a cloaked figure, like putting markings all over him. And then, like, it's back to sheets and rain. What goes through your mind when you see that?
I think I mean, I hung out with my dead dad for a while, so I've definitely seen weirder stuff. But I think what I'm taking away from this is, okay, so maybe Torwin's had a tough life. Like, I think I'm getting some empathy for him. Like, oh, that's that's not a normal childhood. That's not good. Um, but I'm also still like, we're so close to our goal that I'm just like, I'm not stopping for this revelation. I'm just kind of gently pushing everybody in out of the storm so that we can just be safe and breathe for a second.
Sure. Cool. Okay. You guys get in out of the storm and find yourself in a sort of a vast hall of what must have at one point been a truly magnificent building. And what I would like each of you to do is give me a detail. Like, what do you see here in the building and the walls, etc., that hints at, well, one that hints at the, sorry, I'm going to just say this, right? The remember that the archway was like 30 feet tall. The whole place is clearly built on a scale for people that were 2 to 3 to 4 times the size of you. But aside from that, what do you see in here that hints at ancient and powerful magic long overturned?
Banners. There's giant patterned cloths all around, up from various hooks and pulleys, and they're falling apart. That the patterns, like, aesthetically, it could be some sort of prototypical version of the weaving language that we have back at Stonetop. But, like, I mean, it's just an aesthetic evocation. Like, there's they'd be very, very far apart at this point. But just this entire place is covered, and this isn't anything this isn't a cloth of any kind that we could produce. Like, this is finery. This was either magically created or imported or both.
Do you go up and touch one of them, do you think?
The truth is I'm probably going to look one over and then pull it down and use it as a blanket.
All right. So I think when you kind of grab onto it, there's first of all, you feel that it's not actually fabric, it's metallic. Like, there's a metallic weave to it. And also, yeah, make a save versus death. So yeah, you as you kind of pull it down, it's like really fucking heavy, right? Like, it's just like if I don't know if you've ever lifted a weighted blanket, right? But it's like that, but it's a tapestry.
Okay.
It's
still spring, right?
It's still spring, yes.
And it's afternoon, so we're probably not freezing, but we're very, very wet.
Yeah, yes. You are all very, very wet. This does not strike you as something that's going to be terribly warm. Right?
Yeah.
And certainly not something that, it might have all sorts of uses, right? Like, this kind of metallic fiber is really something. But it also gives you a really, I don't know, kind of gives you a wiggy feeling, to just touch this stuff.
Yeah, I kind of grab it and I'm like, and then I just kind of back away from it.
All right. Anwen or Winnie?
There is a hole in the roof that is intentionally made, and it's like a skylight without glass, and beneath that is a warm pool of water that's still warm, and there's no pipes to it. There's nothing there. It is just a mysterious object.
Okay, so you find this room that has a warm pool of water. You said that, and it's open to the sky, or it's just a skylight?
It's open to the sky. Does the rain pass through the hole and splash into the pool? I think it does. And with each pitter patter, it looks like this. It's like a silvery ripples, but otherwise it looks just like water.
There's probably a little bit of steam coming off of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just really tempting, and I want to go into it, but that's I'm drunk, and that's not a good idea in the first place. Anyway.
Cool.
I'm gonna go weird. I think there's these up quite high, higher than we can reach, kind of in part of the towers. There's those kind of mounted heads, hunting trophies of I think maybe maybe they're much bigger versions of the drakes that were in the graph, maybe all different types too. They're different kind of weird metallic, bronze drakes and shit. But they've and we're familiar as hunting trophies in probably the tavern in the town or something like that. I'm picturing it's a thing people do. But I think these ones have their eyes still look alive. They've so their eyes follow you as you move around. They're obviously yeah.
Are they very large? Because this place was made for people.
Yeah, they're the same.
At a different scale,
Yeah, they're the same. Even where they are is at eye height for massive people, and they're that exact amount of proportionally kind of bigger. Yeah, but yeah, they've weirdly got these living eyes. Is that too off tone?
I think no. I think that's great. And I think like what you recognize, Anwen, you definitely recognize like something that looks like it would just be the most enormous feathered drake, right? Like just huge, right? And like the plumage on the thing is just gorgeous, but it's like 2 to 3 times the size of the ones that you guys typically would find in the wood. And the thing, like the thing that kind of keeps going through your minds on this is like no one. This is so old, and no one has come out here and taken these things, right? Partly it's just logistics. Those trophies heads are really high up there, and what would you do with them? But there's something about it just makes you all feel like not super keen on just grabbing these things and going. Okay, so that's sort of like what you see exploring that top level, just kind of like poking around. That little pool room is off to the side. The main room is where you see, I think, the banners, or just maybe like off the main entry room is where you see the banners. Is like the next big room in is probably where those trophies are. And as you're in there, like you hear the storm kind of running and going. Every now and then, you realize that there's not much in the way of light inside, but every time there's a lightning strike, you can actually, one of those spires is kind of visible through the side of one of the main rooms that you're in, and it like lights up and it's just sort of like glows super bright, and then kind of fades down in a like kind of bluish glow, and then lights up again and slowly fades down. And in the light of one of those bits, on when you spot the little pit of little blackish bits of blood leading off further into the tower.
Guys, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a real jerk, but I hope that this is Colwyn. Because then we can find him and make him okay and everything's fine. Because if it's not Colwyn, then the monster beat us here. So, does it seem to be, like, I'm not gonna, like, taste it, right? Oh, who am I kidding? I'm gonna taste it. Is it human blood?
So you kind of like put your finger into it, and like it is the most vile tasting thing you like. The worst thing you can imagine, like putting on your tongue. That's probably about it. Yeah, like
right. So I kind of spit for a minute. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
well,
I don't even know if you get it to your tongue, right? Like I think it's like before it's even there, just the smell of it. You're like, oh. So if it's Colwyn, he's had a worse day than you have.
All right. So I'm pretty sure this is the monster. It seems like this is the only way in or out. Well, there might be tunnels. We have no idea.
Well, a good like you've kind of like come into this main area, but like based on the map and just what you saw, like the back, most of the first floor is intact, but like the back half of it, actually the half towards where you probably would have actually approached from, but just which is opposite from the main gate, like it just is shattered, right? So like you've kind of got like the side you came in on is this like tall, fairly intact bit, and it goes all the way around. But then on this side is just broken and shattered down. So there's probably all sorts of ways in and out of this place.
So do we want to follow the trail of effluvium?
Let's do it. I'm ready to kill.
Hooray.
All right. You follow the trail?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is everyone carrying right now?
I'm back down to my light load: bow, arrows, and hatchet.
Okay.
I think I got my shield back, right? So I've got a shield and a belt knife.
Okay.
I'm carrying a medium load, I think.
Okay.
I have
and
I have books and a cudgel and
and you got your huge ass hammer, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a huge ass hammer, so.
All right. And that's just to be clear, that's like the black iron hammer, correct? Okay. So just as a reminder, that thing is known, like the detail about it is that it is utterly immune to magic.
Awesome.
And Anwen, do you have your bow out or do you have your hatchet in hand?
Actually, Torwen, your spear was broken, so you probably don't have a weapon, right?
I mean, I've got my belt knife.
Okay. You're probably better with your knife than my hatchet anyway. So yeah, I'll have like the bow and I'll have the arrow ready, but not as before.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I'll definitely be looking around for something to even just anything to hit shit with that's not my small knife.
Yeah. Do you want to discern realities to poke around and find something?
Sure. And then hopefully it'll go terribly wrong. Okay. That is an 11.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I'm thinking the
What
first thing
here is useful or
what here is useful or valuable to me. Do me a favor, roll a D10 if you have one.
I do. That is a 5.
A 5. Okay. Oh, where'd that go? Okay, and you're specifically looking for something to use as a weapon, you said.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, you know what I think you find is I think you find basically like a length of metal, probably. Yeah, I think I think it's probably bronze. Oh no, I totally know what it is. It's basically the rod on one of those tapestries.
Yeah.
Right, like you kind of yank one of those things down.
So it's like a solid pole sort of thing.
Yeah, basically, right. It's just like a solid pole with those finials on the end. So you could maybe like rip one off and it would be kind of jagged, but it's basically like a big fucking heavy spear.
Rad. I guess I'll use my other questions or will we just let them go?
No, you can absolutely ask them. You can also kind of hold on to them for now if you want to, and ask them as we get a little bit deeper.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of interested to use them. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I forget the other questions.
Sure.
Where are the moves? Okay, I found them.
Okay.
Blah blah blah. I guess maybe what happened. No, let's say what should I be on the lookout for? Seems kind of obvious, but I'll ask it anyway and see if I notice anything unexpected.
Okay, so I mean, there's the obvious thing you should be on the lookout for, which is a giant man creature, right? Or not a giant, but like a 7-foot man monster or baby monster.
Baby monster.
But the other thing that kind of strikes you as you're looking around and taking the scene in is I kind of described how the when there's a lightning strike, like that pillar lights up. It's not just that one pillar that lights up. As you're kind of moving about here, there's a number of times where you spot like lines worked into the ceiling and the walls, then they're lighting up as well. And
cool.
Every time that happens, you like vaguely feel the energy kind of coursing through them.
Maybe can I ask like what here is useful or valuable to me in relation to those, like if I look at those things and see if there's anything further that I can discern about
if you
them.
want to use, no. If you want to use that as your last question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, like the big thing that strikes you is you're kind of like sensing them is like, oh wow, that would like if you touched one of those lines as when there was a lightning strike, it would basically be like touching a lightning strike, right? Which
could be handy.
Could be handy. Like if you wanted to, like you certainly don't want to get flung up and pressed against one of those things when a lightning bolt happens. But if you pin someone to one of those things and a lightning bolt happens.
Well, I mean, last time I got struck by lightning, it didn't even really hurt. So
right, and there's also that. Right, so there's the fact that you have a vague like. There's actually probably a little part of your brain going, touch it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And I do have a giant metal pole as well.
That's true. Stick your finger in the outlet.
I did that with a knife once when I was a kid.
I did that when I was doing some electric like rewiring with my father. It was a very nice, shock up the alarm. So
after the session, if y'all have time, I will tell you about the single stupidest mistake or thing that I've ever done. All right, move it. So you're kind of like taking that in, and kind of like while he's arming himself and sort of like looking really closely at these things, and Winnie, you probably like get the sense that he's about to maybe like thinking at least about touching one of these. On when you spot, like you kind of like find the edge of this path, and it's gone to the interior. Like inside of this the first level, and you see it kind of heading down that shaft that I described from the map, and it's like heading down that shaft down the stairways. Do you all follow, or follow the path down, or is there something else you want to do on this level first?
My primary concern is, as we look down the stairs, do there seem to be light sources underground, or is it all dark?
Let's see here. It is dark down there.
Okay. Winnie, you wouldn't happen to be schlepping a torch in one of those empty slots, would you?
It's a good question. I have an oil lamp. Yeah. I pass you the oil lamp, and then I look at Torwen, who's reaching out to touch one of the wires, and I like hit him on the shoulder. I say, Torwen, don't do that.
He was talking to me.
That's really bad. That's a bad sign. I think this is not a healthy place for you.
Yeah, this is not ideal.
Right. Sorry, I do want to just point out, like, one, just logistics wise, an oil lamp, right? Picture a neti pot that has like a little wick on it, and that you fill with oil, and like you have a little light coming off of the end of it.
Seems like the perfectly practical exploring thing. I like it.
It's not terrible.
I like the ambiance. You know?
It's more something you might sit and read next to, right? That's why you bought it. Like you didn't really know you were going to be going into the tower.
Okay, I'm just pointing out, if you want to also have a torch, you do have another slot, right? And,
no, that's lame. Too practical.
Okay.
We want it to get knocked over and go out as easy as possible.
I just want to die. This is this is how to play the game.
Okay. So who is going to be holding that dainty little oil lamp?
I have a bow and arrow. The judge has a two-handed hammer, and our fighter is sword and board. So
I can carry it though, I reckon, because my shield's attached to my arm, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
I like how dainty that looks with Torwen, because he's like the baddest of us, but he also has like a little...
Yeah, and it's going to make some pretty gnarly giant shadows and stuff too.
Yeah. All right, so you start heading down the stairs? Okay. So as you are, kind of this pit this shaft is maybe 30 feet across, and there's actually, the interesting thing is that the stairs that you are going down are sized for your feet, which, when you think about it, doesn't make an awful lot of sense. There is also on this shaft, there's the shaft, and then there's these tiny in proportion stairs going looping down it. But there are also here, for example, there's this platform kind of just jutting out into the pit, and that happens maybe every, well, kind of looking down, you can vaguely see another one, maybe a story or two down. So you're going down this pathway, or down these stairways, on clinging to the edge of this dark pit. Tiny little lantern. Rain is that part is actually still open, right? And so there's rain kind of pouring down the shaft. You're kind of protected on the wall that you're on, but it's still getting a little bit slippery as you go down. And you're about halfway down to the next level, to the that platform that juts out, when you start hearing a coming from downstairs. What do you do?
I'm gonna pass the little lantern to the person behind me and run recklessly down the wet stairs into the dark to battle with the creature.
Yeah, and I'm holding the lantern now, and I say, "You do it, Torwen. Take one for the team."
All right. So Torwen, you go rushing down into the darkness, occasionally lit by bluish pulses of light coming through the through the networking around these things. And you get down to this next platform down, and there's an archway and a tunnel leading off of the arch, and everything kind of blue light glows, and you hear that coming from a little bit further down. The other two of you are just what, he just ran the fuck off.
I'm going to be circling down as fast as I can, keeping a draw across the...
Oh, sure. So, okay.
Yeah.
And Winnie, what are you doing?
Winnie is doing the best she can to get down those stairs.
Okay. So you guys are following. Torwen, you hear the crying, you see that tunnel ahead of you. What are you doing?
I don't really have a plan. I'm just trying to run into the creature. Whenever I see it, just smash right into it.
Okay.
Finish it off.
So you're just basically following the noise, trying to get to it. And
I call this move a blind rush.
Okay. I think there is all sorts of danger here, right? Because you are you're running through the dark in an unknown space, trying to track down a dangerous creature and find it before
on a wet surface. While already badly injured.
It's actually pretty dry once you get into the tunnel, right?
Cool.
So I'm going to ask for a defy danger with wisdom for using sharp senses.
Yeah, cool. So natural reaction sort of things. Let me see here. What is my wisdom?
I'm going to guess low.
Yeah, I rolled a 9 and I've got a no plus modifier. You're muted.
No. Hard bargain, worse outcome, or ugly choice. And you were basically saying that you wanted to run, find and run into this thing, right?
Yeah, just bull rush right into it.
Okay. So would you say that a success would be finding the creature?
Yeah.
All right. So the worse outcome, let's say, is that you find it's not so much that you find the creature, it's that the creature finds you.
Like it hears me coming from really far away.
Yeah.
It probably knows what I smell like too, right? We spent quite a lot of time together.
That's a good point. So you like go kind of like, just rushing down, looking left and right, looking all over the place. And you pop into this room where you were sure you were hearing it coming from, right? Hearing the noise coming from. And like there's a flicker as you pop in, and like we kind of vaguely, like the audience vaguely gets this sense of almost like a nest mixed with a nursery, right? And just like piled up straw and cloth and everything in one section, and then things kind of strewn all about that look like toys cast about by a child. And then there's another flash as we see little bits of bone in there, or not like that the toys are actually like bits of bone and other like weird jagged things all around. And then there's another as we see, and we see Torwen's face kind of like looking in, taking all of this in, and sort of like behind him with a coil in its hand is the thing like reaching over your head.
Is it gonna garrot me?
What's that? Well, you kind of like there, like something just gives it away, and your eyes like dart over, and it's just like trying to like reach down and garrot you with a thick ass cable like this thick.
Oh, I hope it's attached to the tower. I think I'll just throw my head back into its face.
All right, cool. So I like trying to basically like smash it and get away from it, or like get out of its grab, or are you trying?
I'm trying to murder it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, give me a hack and slash.
Okay. That is that's a 5, a 7.
Oh, all right. Okay. Roll your damage.
Cool. And so I do it with advantage. That's right, isn't
you
it?
Always have advantage.
Sweet.
When you're dealing damage.
That is 10.
Seriously?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, okay, and for its attack, it is going to like. So yeah. What I think happens is it like gets the cable down around your neck, right, and starts like pulling back, and maybe it doesn't get around your neck, but it gets you like, pins your spear arm, and you manage to like smash it. And actually, you tell me how you kill this thing while it still has that cable wrapped around you. And Winnie and Anwen, you two are going to like rush in just in time to see the end of this.
I think it's just a bit of a brutal, face mash. Like the back of my head just crunches this thing, and maybe it kind of stumbles back and it's just rammed into it. It's just this horrible, you don't see much of it. It's just in the dark, all this like brutal punching and headbutts and shit.
Cool.
Well, as the lightning strikes in the distance, I do.
Yeah. You get these weird flashes of it every now and again, but I think it was more the initial impact, just like wrecked it, right?
Cool. But the other thing that happens is, like you were saying, you've got this cable wrapped around you, and like as Winnie and Anwen, you two kind of like come in, you see him just like headbutting this thing, basically like he doesn't even really realize it, but he's like headbutting it back up against the wall, right? And it's just like like an eggshell cracking up against the back of the thing, or up against the wall under him. But he's got this cable still wrapped around him, like on his arm, and there's one of these bits, and then you see the cable just light up with electricity, and and Torwen, what does it look like when you get basically 1.21 gigawatts running like through you?
Yeah, so I think maybe the viewers of this show, right, probably saw this earlier when I got struck by lightning on top of the tower. I think it actually like all of these like tattoo lines, and I'm kind of picturing them as those like spiral, like Celtic kind of patterns you see in stones and stuff, but some of them are writing. I think pretty much like the electricity just runs through like every one of these, like, and he's got them all, they cover his entire body and hands and feet and everything, right? So I think it just kind of runs through his whole body, like totally lights up.
Cool.
For a second.
I'm going to add a detail of like
Mhm.
a good chunk of your clothing actually like bursts into flames while this is happening.
Awesome.
Okay, I think that's probably a good point to stop.
Okay.
Yes, Ben, did you want to?
I could say this for next time, but like I would want to like ask if I can discern realities.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Let's do it. And if you get a miss, then it'll be a hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Okay, it's a miss.
Yes. So you still get to ask your what here is tainted by chaos, though, right?
Yeah. What here is tainted by chaos?
So like everything in this area is like you are in a chaos like buffet.
Yeah.
So you can't really even tell if it's like me this time, because it's just like your little Geiger counter is just going like.
Yeah, it's like my vision changes, and it's like I just see you as like a glowing.
So here's the thing that I'm going to say. I'm going to make the
Or
move
what
now.
do I see? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually so you sort of like as you open your senses to this, like of course you're like, whoa, there's chaos all around, and then you collapse and start having a fit yourself. And the camera kind of pans in on Winnie's eyes, and we can kind of like tell that we're like looking in, like she's seen something, and then we get the cut so we can somehow tell that it's like Winnie's point of view, and we see like this dark place deep underground where there's a giant, great big coil of, and there's a like pulsing spire of red crystal coming out from like sticking up in the middle of this coil, and Colwyn standing in front of it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Boom!
Very nice.
Credits. All right. Do y'all have time to do the end of session move?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So, when you reach the end of the session, give an example of how you fulfilled the requirement of your drive. And if everyone agrees, mark XP. So, your drive is something that you would have put on your character sheet up towards the top. So, Anwen, your drive is bravery, face up to one of your fears. Winnie's is duty, which I believe is cause trouble by adhering strictly to doctrine. And Torwen's is peace, prevent violence, or end it without hurting anyone.
Yeah, I actually accidentally achieved it last time, but I was planning to fail that most time. Anwen seemed pretty brave, right?
So
sorry.
I mean, Anwen, you went off by yourself to go rescue this thing in dangerous wilds, which are more like rescue me, and I think that's pretty brave. So.
Well, and then I didn't let Torwen just go deal with stuff himself. Like, no, I'm going with you. It may not be like textbook bravery, but I definitely identified that it was stupid and did it anyway.
I think specifically it's supposed to be one of the fears that you identified of for your fear and anger.
I I was thinking for my fear that I'm not really cut out for this. And yet, when presented with the option of just taking my friend home, I was like, no, we're going to press on. We're going to do this hero thing.
Awesome. Mark XP.
Cool.
Winnie?
I don't think I adhere to duty in any way. I think I was true to my friends, but not to the code in which I had been training my whole life. So
Yeah,
I think you were totally inflexible with Torwen in terms of saying you were going to take him back to town and do the follow through with that whole thing.
I did say I'm not sorry for.
Yeah, I reckon you were still being a sanctimonious twerp.
Like I'm with you on that, on the sanctimonious, whatever that word was. But the question I have is, did you actually cause trouble by sticking to the doctrine?
I don't think so. I don't think
I think you further damaged your relationship with Torwen. You were much more likable once you got drunk.
That is something we're going to do relationship stuff in a little bit, though. So
yeah. So I don't think I did my duty. Anwen, I think you did your duty. Torwen, I think you did your duty. I mean, your drive. Sorry, you definitely were very peaceful, and by not killing things most of the session until the end.
Well, it's specific. The specific thing is end a conflict without violence.
Yeah, it was not through lack of trying. I just tried to be violent the whole time, but I just wasn't that good at it until the end.
I think you might want to change your.
No, when I created it, I wanted to fail at the thing, at my driving principle, like constantly. Like that's what I want to. If I start achieving that later, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Next, describe how your opinion of or relationship with another character, PC or NPC, has changed this session. And if everyone agrees, mark XP.
I'm going to fall back on my revelation about Torwen's childhood earlier. He's, part of it is just empathy. Like, hey, he's been through some stuff and he's got some stuff going on. But also there is no way to deny that he's got some destiny issues and they are not going to leave him alone. So he's like, whether or not he's a drunken slob, he's a drunken slob with legit problems and apparently the fickle finger of fate just right up him. So
does that, I'm curious, I mean, you don't necessarily need to go into detail on this, but I'm curious how Anwen feels seeing someone else who's like so clearly marked out by fate and destiny.
Well, it's terrifying to me that this drunken slob might be destined to be a hero, and I am not, because I'm not cut out for this, is my fear. But I don't know, it makes me want to like protect him, I think, more. Like, it makes me want to be there when he faces his destiny and be there to help him because, on some level, that's who I am.
Sure. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, I'm totally down with that. Does anybody object to that being worth XP?
I think that's so sad. Oh.
So mark XP if you haven't.
That's pretty much exactly what I was hoping for when I made like my character, knowing that you were going to be playing the like would-be hero character. I was hoping there'd be this weird tension with a character that was like marked as a like potential hero, an undeserving hero, perhaps.
It's an interesting tension.
Yeah, I really dig it.
I think so Torwen didn't really have a really strong like pre-existing relationship with Anwen as well, which I think is interesting. Like this is kind of like it's a small town, right? So you know who everyone is and what their situation like is. But like so I think there's probably this maybe I think they'd probably earned some kind of respect in his eyes where before they were a nobody. Like it's probably gone from like Anwen is a nobody to maybe Anwen isn't completely useless. I think you've like stepped up that far.
This is really appropriate, I think, because I have resentment towards you over a training incident that you probably have no recollection of.
Yeah.
So that works really well.
Love it. All right, Mark XP, Lou.
Cool.
Winnie, relationship?
I think I'm not sure. I think the tone of relationships have changed a little bit.
That's legit.
I think the tone of my relationship with Anwen is changed because it's not like we're just friends. It's like I feel indebted to Anwen for actually coming out and saving me. Because were it not for Anwen, I'd be dead.
And you feel like that goes above and beyond just the friendship that you two
yeah,
have?
it's not a friendship. This is like I feel like there's a dynamic, like almost I'm lower than him. Like that I need to somehow live up to what they've done for me, so I can be their peer again. I feel inferior a little bit and guilty and like really thankful. I feel like Anwen is just like, although he doesn't see, and I know he doesn't see himself as a hero, although he wants to be, like to me right now, like he's just like a pure force of grace. Like he saved me, and like in an irreparable way. So
I also love the fact that Winnie is currently drunk, right? And so it's probably like, and I'm not saying that this is not a legitimate thing, but it's also just like, you're just so great. You're like a pure force of grace. I love it.
like, and I don't think she's like, she's not in a mode where she's like can properly express this to even herself. But that's like that's the dynamic. Yeah,
That's great. Love it. All right, Mark XP. Okay, so finally, answer these questions as a group. Did we learn something about the wider world or its history?
Yeah, the stuff we sketched out about the whole magic kind of stuff, the tower, like all that stuff that kind of world building that we all did, I think was pretty solid.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, Mark XP for that. Did we overcome a threat to Stonetop or the greater region?
Yes.
Definitely. Smushed baby
Is
monster.
it overcome though? Wasn't that just like a tiny baby?
We killed a baby.
It did murder people, I guess.
It's okay. The baby was taller than
We
us.
overcame a threat. I don't know if it was particularly major though, was it?
Oh,
No.
That thing was definitely the threat of the adventure, or at least the primary threat of the adventure.
I like that Torwen just crushed it with his head. Although he had tried to fight it like twice before that, and I feel like he'd worn it down a little bit, like he'd slowly been injuring it.
Patrick, did you have something you wanted to pop in with?
We entered a house that was built for giants and killed the giant baby that lived here. We need to run away. Oh my god, that is not going to go well for us.
I was really trying hard to die too. I only had 11 hit points left. You're muted there, Jeremy.
Oh, sorry. Keep in mind, you're still in the tower, and it's not like you have much in the way of resources left, right?
Is there a last breath move in this game?
Yes.
Awesome.
It's actually the Death's Door move.
Yeah.
And you should definitely check it out because
Yeah, that's kind of why I love the fiction that kind of move created in Dungeon World. It was really cool. It's like that's kind of why I started trying to kill myself all the time in games, actually.
Okay. If you haven't marked XP for overcoming a threat to Stonetop, do so. And then the last two I don't think hit. Improve the standing or influence with our neighbors. If Patrick's suspicions are correct, if anything, you've done the exact opposite. And make some lasting improvement to Stonetop or tangible progress towards doing so. I don't think so. I mean, if somebody wants to make an argument for it, I'm game, but... Okay. And then just as a heads up for the next session, do any of you have more than 8 XP? You do? Okay. So 8 XP is what you need to level up, but leveling up can only be done at home during downtime. So in the meantime, any surplus XP you've got can be used for the Burn Brightly move, which maybe just take a look at that before the next session.
Burn brightly, perfect in the fiction right now with me glowing from light being struck by lightning.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast. If any of you are still watching, thanks. And yeah.